proceed as intended. If we wait for all issues, be it logistics, organizational or philosophical, to be resolved, we may find that time will simply run out.
Parks has urged the organising team to keep the dialogue's costs under control.
Whilst the presidency is correct to push forward with the convening of the launch of the national dialogue, it will do well to hear the scepticism of many, including workers, who correctly ask, what will the dialogue achieve and how will we ensure that it does not follow the same route of similar reviews and discussions previously held, including former President Kgalema Motlante's high-level panel review that concluded in 2019.
A year since his departure from the EFF, joining another organisation and then getting dumped, Floyd Shivambu has confirmed that his new political home, Africa Maibuye, has set its eyes on the 2026 local government elections. He's told supporters in Gauteng this weekend that they are in the process of registering consultative process. Shivambu announced the Maibuye project in June after being removed as Secretary General of the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. News of wanting to contest elections came after the MK party officially expelled him from the organisation, which is led by former President Jacob Zuma. Tsidi Madia reports.
In a move that comes as a surprise to no one, Africa Maibuye's Floyd Shivambu's confirmed it's rolling the dice, entering the fray and asking for the backing of ordinary South Africans at the polls,
which will contest elections in 2026, in 2029 and moving forward.
The decision to contest comes even before Maibuye's consultation process has been finalized. Shivambu says they still have to go to KZN, the epicenter of his last political home, the MKP.
The people of KwaZulu-Natal have been saying to us that please come to KwaZulu-Natal. We almost made a mistake last year. We want to correct that mistake.
Shivambu in the last 12 months has donned at least 3 different political colours, but insists his current one will have a lasting impact on the country. Tsidi Madia, Eyewitness News, Joburg CBD.
5 Al Jazeera journalists have been killed by an Israeli targeted strike near Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. The broadcaster says Anas Al-Sharif and Mohammed Kraikai plus 3 cameramen were in a tent for journalists at the hospital's main gate when it was targeted. The Israeli Defense Force confirmed the strike but accused journalist Anas Al-Sharif of heading a Hamas cell and advancing rocket attacks against Israeli civilians and Israeli troops. Al Jazeera says the assassination is yet another blatant and premeditated attack on press freedom, and the Euromed Human Rights Monitor says there is zero evidence that Al-Sharif took part in any hostilities. Meanwhile, 5 European members of the UN Security Council have condemned Israel's plans to take over the control of Gaza City. Slovenian ambassador to the UN, Samuel Zegba.
This plan risks violating international humanitarian law. We call on Israel to urgently reverse this decision and not to implement.
Gold is trading at $3,378.74 an ounce. The rand is at 17.73 to the dollar, 23.86 to the pound, 20.68 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.26 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got some delays already on the Maikwa North between Boyson's Road and the Crown Interchange, while travelling in Kempton Park. Roadworks are taking place on the R21 South, right near Atlas Road. Do expect delays there.
And in your sport, the Proteas began their Australian tour with a 17-run loss in the first T20 of the series. Kaizer Chiefs and Durban City kick off their Betway Premiership season with 3 points thanks to Sunday victories, and Crystal Palace have won a second trophy in 2025 as they lifted the Community Shield.
A fine day in store for Gauteng, Johannesburg starting at 6 degrees, peaking at 18, Pretoria 7 and 21, Vereeniging 5 and 20. The top story in EWN this hour, Acting Police Minister Firoz Kachalia has condemned the recent spate of police killings after 3 officers were shot while on duty.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko are back, celebrating local business, backed by you. Submit your nomination now on primediaplus.com.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
It's a brand new day. It's a brand new week. It's the 11th of August, the year of our Lord, 2025. Welcome to 702 Breakfast, wherever you are listening to us from. A shout out to you. If you're in Alberton, if you're in Bedfordview, if you're in Benoni, Boksburg, Brakpan, Bapsfontein, Clayville, Davidton, Duduza, Edenvale, Germiston, Katlehong, Kempton Park, Isando. Doesn't matter, around the world. We aim to bring you what's happening in that world. We always dearly love hearing what's happening in yours. Welcome one, welcome all. I'm not alone, of course. My team of colleagues is with me. Barely recovered from the DP Wanderers Stadium. On Saturday, Amoramila, the life of the party. Always there for any good time. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bongs.
Have you recovered from Saturday?
No, not quite, but I'm okay. I'll survive today.
Breathing through the wound?
Mm-hmm.
Are we on for gym after the show?
Of course we are.
Of course we are. Guess who always never shows up?
The person asked.
Say
The
that.
person asking the question. Mutao Kharipa, of course, is the other voice you are hearing there. How was your weekend?
Great weekend. Really had a lot of fun with most of the team, of course, at the Wanderers Stadium. It was one of those weekends where the parents got to go out, and it was a lot of fun.
And the babysitters really had to work hard this weekend.
And we thank them for that.
We thank them always. Producers Bapilile and Siamtanda are taking your calls. Cindy Paluta is out for the week, but Anthony Teixeira will be with us. KG will be starting the clocks. Fisa Zulu has everything you need to know in Eyewitness News. It's a show.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
6:09 on our menu today. Whose dialogue is it anyway? Hundreds of millions of rands are going to be spent on this thing, and it appears one of the objections is that the national government will argue they are trying to trim the fat on this thing because some of the initial figures were upwards of close to R1 billion to have this national dialogue. So they're saying all sorts of things like, for delegates, for example, who live reasonably close to Gauteng, there'll be no flights for them, right? Because this is the kind of thing that the national dialogue would cover. And I just thought in this month of August, right? Because we have South Africa's National Women's Day celebrated and observed on the 9th of August. Just take me back to those women in the 50s who didn't have cell phones, who didn't have social media, who didn't have their march broadcast on the radio. It was literally door to door, woman to woman, in their churches, in their women's unions, in their clubs. That's how it was organized. And they all got themselves to the union buildings on that 9th of August, right? But today, if we want to have a dialogue, where am I booked? Where's my hotel booked? What flights? Do I have a car? Do I have a rented car? Right? Just think about it. Because some of the costs that we are now being told they're trying to trim is let's cut down on some of the flights. Can you imagine who's going to get the tender for the catering? Huh? For the decor? Huh? Just think about it. Hundreds of millions of rands. Do you think we're going to get bang for our buck when it comes to this national dialogue? I was reminded of a line from a movie called As Good As It Gets. The Jack Nicholson character says, I'm drowning and you're describing the water. Doesn't it feel a little like that? The country is drowning and they want to spend hundreds of millions of rands to discuss and describe the water? Or do you think, hang on, this is very much the necessary reset button we need? We've got to be able to talk about our problems in order to find solutions. And as you heard in Eyewitness News, a number of these organizations named after struggle stalwarts have pulled out at least after of the planning phases. The Sunday Times citing personal tensions between former President Thabo Mbeki and current President Cyril Ramaphosa as part of the reasons. So we'll speak to the presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya in the first hour of the show about that. And then, who will guard the guardians? With such high and unacceptable levels of crime, how must the public respond if it is brigadiers and generals who are charged with committing corruption, fraud, and stealing? How must we feel about it? Can I tell you what? Can I tell you how SAP's response to it, Mateo? Can I tell you?
Go ahead.
There is a brigadier in Pretoria in the Moot district, right? She's never worn a police uniform. She has no formal police training. But she's now been given the acting position of the head of visible policing. A few weeks ago, she and 6 other top cops were in the dock facing charges. SAP says, look, this is just a temporary redeployment. The regulations allow for a removal if an officer's presence in their current position is untenable.
So, she is in charge of those
visible policing.
Boots on the ground.
Yes. They must now, ordinary officers must now take instructions from this person who has never worn the badge, or at least the uniform. Yeah. What else do you say? Right? Muteo doesn't know what to say to that. Finally, Amo, hey? Finally, I have him speechless.
Oh, wow.
Finally. He's always ready
talk too much.
with a clever answer. Speechless. Speechless. That's how I make you feel. Now, listen to this. Do you know the political analyst, Ibrahim Harvey? This is a former COSATU trade unionist. He's the guy, I first met him when he wrote Kgalema Motlante's biography. You remember, of course, in 2012, Kgalema Motlante contested the position of the ANC presidency at the Mangaung conference. And really one indicator of whether you're a serious player or not is there a biography out on you, right? And Kgalema Motlante's biography was written by Ibrahim Harvey, who was a long-time strategist, at least in the tripartite alliance. Guess what he's saying? He says, Joburg, you want a fighting chance? You want to get out of the mess that you're in? Helen Zille is your guy. That's what Ibrahim Harvey says. This is a long time, this is a COSATU man through and through. He was in the struggle. He is ANC, what would you call it? Aristocracy. That's the word I'm looking for. He says, you want to fix Joburg? Give Gogo Helen a chance. I'm going to speak to him after 8 about why he got to that conclusion. And, of course, the last interview just before 9 was speaking to the artistic director of the Joburg Theatre, James Ngobo.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
7:02 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
Quarter after 6, here's a question. How much does your purse determine your power in relationships? Right? How much does your purse determine your power in relationships? Now, I know often these things are unsaid. Often these things are never spoken because it would be too embarrassing, too gauche to actually say it. But you know that the person who pulls the purse strings, to mix my metaphors, is the puppet master, is the puppeteer. Right? They say whether we actually have the money to do this or that or not. And sometimes that yay or nay isn't motivated by the bank balance. It may be motivated by how they want to respond to you. Maybe you weren't nice to them yesterday. Right? Now, this can be in romantic relationships, in marriages. It can also extend to, say, a wider family circle amongst siblings. We all know that auntie, that Rahadi from Joburg, who comes in a big SUV and gets out of the car and everybody must go offload what she has brought, right? When we get to the village. And she calls many of the shots. How much does your purse determine your power in relationships? Mattel, you've got a big smile on your face.
No, I'm thinking about it. In my marriage, not so much. But I know that sometimes you get put in positions of power by other people. Maybe your family members know what you do and how successful you are. And then they're like, no, nothing's going to start. And we're going to wait for Moteo to get checked before. Then you find all of a sudden you are in a position of power and you didn't mean to get yourself there.
Amo?
Growing up, I've seen money not being the king of the relation, the kingmaker in the relationship, because maybe the woman is the one who's making more money than the husband. I've seen men maintaining their power despite the woman being in charge of the monies. So I wouldn't
You
say,
don't think it's a factor?
not so much.
I think you know some really decent people, is what I would say to you. I think in many relationships, your purse determines a lot of your power. You may opt not to display it. You may opt not to, lord it over the people around you. But between us girls, in many a relationship, that is the scenario. What are your thoughts? 072-702-1702. You can send us a voice note. We'll welcome your calls on 011-883-0702. And, of course, you can catch us, as always, live streaming on our YouTube channel.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Looking, of course, at Eyewitness News, as Fiso Zulu is going to be here in just a few moments talking about newspapers. You could argue that in a sense today we're going to be looking at policing, but there's some already worrying signs of what the new acting police minister, Firoz Kashalia, is dealing with, and he's condemning the spate of killings of police officers after 3 were shot on duty over the weekend. One in Mpumalanga responding to a business burglary. Another 2 detectives in Gauteng were murdered on Friday, transporting a suspect back to prison from the Roodepoort Magistrates Court. I'm not quite sure what happened to that suspect, but these are the kinds of things that Firoz Kashalia is now dealing with. A real baptism of fire, if you will.
Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
19 after 6, Mateo. You've got a question of your own?
Yeah, I want to know from you and other 702 landers, if you were to trend, right, on social media, what would you want to trend for? And what's that one thing that would make you delete your social media account?
Sure. Can I share what I said to you off air when you first told me this is the question you might ask? I think I will trend the day I get married, because I'm sure somebody will say, finally! We thought it would never happen.
Somebody has finally tamed.
Jonga, finally, if that were ever to happen, I suspect that
I think you trend for that. Amu?
I'd delete my account if I were to be bullied. I don't know how people survive bullying, social media bullying. I really don't know. And they come back the next day and they
forget
about it, take it as a joke or whatever. I would just delete my account.
I'd want to trend for, if somebody takes a video of you doing something nice with someone else.
Huh? What did you say?
Like when somebody takes a video of you doing something nice with someone else, maybe in a shopping queue or something, without me knowing.
So
I'm not planning to trend, just being like myself naturally and
being kind.
Yes.
You want to trend for kindness. You almost trended for something else there.
702.
Weather.
21 minutes after 6 o'clock. What conditions can you expect on this Monday? Fine day in store for Gauteng. Temperatures in Jozi 6 to 18. Pretoria 7 to 21. Vereeniging 5 to 20. Cape Town maxes at 18 degrees. That's really the same high for Gqeberha and East London. Durban partly cloudy. They're expecting isolated showers and some rain there. Temperatures will max out at 21.
Good morning, 702 Breakfast Bongani. Let me tell you something, okay? You know when you start the show and you speak the date and then you go ahead to say the day of our Lord. Oh my God, I love that little thing that you do. I always say it with you all the time. I really like it. This is a great show. I'm listening to it every day. Thank you guys. Keep on doing the great work. Kutso in Hatfield, Pretoria.
EWN Traffic.
Thank you, Kutso. Thank you. So, Amo, if Kutso leaves Hatfield in Pretoria, what is Kutso likely to encounter? What are the roads looking like at Pasawa?
Well, if you are traveling in the city of Tshwane, delays on the RN1 South approaching the Flying Saucer interchange. And then if you are leaving Mountain View, do expect delays as well along the R80 East approaching Eskiampahlele exit. While traveling in Joburg, we've got some delays on the Mike 1 North between the Crown interchange and Car Street. There's also a bit of a pile-up along the M2 West due to an accident right near Reuven Road. It's causing delays after Shilvers. Be on the lookout there. I'll have more updates for you, but if you see anything else, we're on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
When your internet connection fails, does it really matter how fast it is? Business class internet is built for businesses. With remote monitoring, that means faster problem resolution and a backup LTE connection that keeps you online. Your company deserves business class internet because just reboot the router isn't a business strategy. Find reliability at vodacombusiness.co.za. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Further together. Vodacom Business.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
If you look at everything that's going on at the moment, would it be fair to say that the MPC's job of targeting inflation is more complex, perhaps, than it's been for quite some time?
There's been lots of speculation and rumors in the market that Reserve Bank and National Treasury is basically at loggerheads. The Treasury preferring a bit of a higher number to give them some leeway within the legal framework versus a pointed target, which is quite more difficult to attain.
Freddie Mitchell is the chief economist at Aluma Capital.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by ABSA CIB, equipping you with efficient and secure cash management solutions for your business. Your story matters. ABSA is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
702.
Add your voice.
Have your say.
Let's walk the talk.
Morning, Bongles. We know what the problems in South Africa are. Rapid unemployment. If people are not earning, how are they supposed to contribute to the economic ladder? Really? Do we need a dialogue to discover that? Do we need a dialogue to know that we should make the cabinet a quarter of the size it is currently? That these people will not be unemployable in any private sector? Really? South Africans, open your eyes. It's time we get out on the streets and march like any other country in the world would do to say we want immediate elections.
We're talking about the national dialogue. It's due to kick off on Thursday, this 15th of August. And I'm wondering, as a sample of one person, wherever you are listening to us from, do you know what's going to happen? Do you know where it is? Do you know what time? Do you know how to engage, how to participate, where to watch the discussions? Do you have any information at all, other than the fact that 15th of August is the date that's been given?
Start your day with Bongani Bingwa
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Things you need to know at this hour. So, the National Dialogue Communications Workstream will take center stage today to brief the media on the readiness for this national dialogue. As I said, it kicks off on Thursday, so this Thursday and Friday at UNISA in Pretoria. A number of foundations withdrawing from that planning process. We'll speak to the president's spokesperson coming up, but the national convention will go ahead as planned. And outside of what I'm telling you now, I'm curious to know, did you know anything about it before? The trial of 6 men accused of murdering 18 people in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape in September last year is scheduled to resume today. The state will present its case and calling additional witnesses to take the stand. I nearly fell off my chair when I read the story in the Sunday Times yesterday. The Construction and Education and Training Authority, SETA, now coming under scrutiny for extravagant spending on a lavish event. It is, of course, a financially constrained entity. The Sunday Times says the SETA hosted a grand launch for a biometric student verification system at the Gallagher Convention Center in Midrand in June 2022. They were celebrating. Well, we've got the system. Hey, kumnandi, cheers, cheers, cheers. It didn't exist. It did not exist at the time of the launch. It was simply some proposal somebody had come up with to say, how about we do this? And they spent money to go and celebrate. The total bill is a staggering 735,547 rand 6 cents to launch something that did not exist. I put it on my X. I actually howled with laughter. I went, I saw the, not even for the comrades. Guysine. It's Crims Hemsworth's 42nd birthday today. You'll know him, of course, best for wielding Thor's hammer in the Marvel universe. But he's also brought his action hero charm to films like Rush, Red Dawn, The Cabin in the Woods, Vacation, and The Heart of the Sea. And on this day in 2007, the #1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 was Sean Kingston's hit, Beautiful Girls.
Girl, that's why it'll never work. You have me suicidal when you say it's over. Damn, all these beautiful girls, they only wanna do you dirt. They'll have you suicidal.
I'm thanking KG. Sometimes he plays like 2 seconds of the songs. After that Sita story, you had to play it for a little bit longer. Usfiso Zulu needed to catch his breath.
702.
The newspapers.
Right, Sfiso?
Yeah, definitely. It's shocking.
Absolutely
shocking.
Zhuang.
Absolutely shocking.
Hukum.
And to think that this is the very same
How?
Sita that's embroiled in a lot of problems.
I mean, what is in the papers today?
Yeah, another concerning story in the Citizen in page 3. They're talking about how more people are seeking help to treat their gambling addiction. And the South African Responsible Gambling Foundation says that between 2004 and this year, it has referred about more than 4,000 people to get rehabilitated from their gambling addictions. And it's quite concerning. They're saying men are more susceptible than women to be addicted to gambling. And more than that is that people who are full-time employees, who've got full-time jobs like you and I, are addicted to gambling so that they can offset their salaries and substitute their salaries. But it's seemingly through gambling addiction.
It's also lonely retirees.
Yes.
It's a big segment of the gambling population. All right, so that's the front page of the Citizen then, high stakes of gambling. And the Business Day jobs survey gets tweaks. They've also got a picture of the governor of the Reserve Bank, and they're saying the bank is moving to allay target fears. And the front page of the Sowetan, how Treasury cut spend on dialogue.
EWN Business.
All right, Mateo, you want to know if you were to trend, what would you trend for? And what's that one thing that would make you delete your social media account? I imagine nobody wants those Kim Kardashian tapes. So that might be a reason to delete an account. What prompts the question?
Bongani, UK budget holiday firm Jet2 is riding a social media wave. There, nothing beats a Jet2 holiday ad campaign. I'm sure you've heard it on TikTok. Has spread the company's name around the world, even as they operate only in the UK. Now, TikToks and Instagram Reels are bound with audio from a January 2024 advert promoting Jet2 holiday deals that knocked off around £50 or 1,193 per person of their holiday packages. Now, social media users began juxtaposing the audio clip with videos showing chaotic or unfortunate moments during holidays. According to a Forbes report, the most liked video using the sound has accumulated around 35 million likes on TikTok. In it, a person ostensibly in a hotel room throws open the floor-to-ceiling curtains only to be confronted with a tiny window instead of a beautiful view. So all those bloopers that happened during holidays, people have been posting using this particular sound. This has boosted, of course, the brand J2. The ad sound has been used 1.4 million times on TikTok. The original ad on YouTube has reached 2.4 million views. In its preliminary results for the fiscal year ending in March, Jet2 says it carried a record 19.8 million passengers and 6.6 million package holiday customers. So the social media trending is also boosting the company. It recorded a £7 billion in annual revenue, 167 billion rand, a 15% increase over the previous fiscal year.
Shame, you know who I feel sorry for? They are advertising agency. What are they going to offer them now?
They should have invoiced more
Joga,
as well.
What are they going to offer them now?
Can't get any better than this.
It's all organic. How organic is the rand this morning?
It's doing quite well this morning. 17 rand 72 against the US dollar, 20 rand 67 against the euro, and a 23 rand 85 cents against the British pound. Price of gold down 0.5% at $3,377 an ounce, or platinum is at $1,325. Brent crude at $66.26 a barrel. More business after 7.
Time now for your latest eyewitness news. Let's bring back Sfiso Zulu. Not in my name. What are they saying, Sfiso?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. The civil rights organization is calling for police to respond with proportional force when facing armed criminals. The organization was reacting to comments made by National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola, who said it cannot be business as usual when criminals declare war on the police. Masemola's remarks came after the recent killings of officers in Mpumalanga and Gauteng. Jabulile Mbata reports.
The president of Not In My Name, Siyabulela Gentile, says police officers must be empowered to meet deadly threats with deadly force when necessary. He believes it is up to the newly appointed acting police minister, Feroz Kachalia, to issue a clear directive on how officers should respond to violent crime. Gentile adds that the minister has yet to gain public trust.
South Africa is facing an alarming escalation in brazen attacks on law enforcement officers, a crisis that has intensified since the appointment of acting minister Feroz Kachalia. His views on policing public posture and policy signals have created a dangerous perception that the state's resolve to confront crime is weakening.
Gentile also cited the recent murder of a police officer in Mpumalanga, saying it highlights the severity of the crime crisis facing the country. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng's tourism sector has injected 41 billion rand into the provincial GDP for the 2024-25 financial year. Economic Development MEC Lebogang Maile says this is above the targeted 29 billion rand set by his department. Maile shared the update yesterday during a briefing on the department's performance, where he said that the province has also welcomed 3.8 million international visitors.
This growth was not accidental. It is a product of targeted strategic investment in increased airlift capacity, new air routes development, and heightened and impact-driven destination marketing initiatives and strategic bidding and hosting of catalytic signature events, conferences and exhibitions.
Trade Union Federation COSATU has expressed satisfaction that the National Convention will proceed as scheduled despite tensions within the National Dialogue's organizing team. Last week, Legacy Foundations, including the Thabo Mbeki and Steve Biko Foundations, withdrew from the initiative, citing several concerns. The foundations had asked for a postponement of Thursday's convention to allow additional preparation time, but the president rejected their proposal. COSATU spokesperson Matthew Parks says delaying the event over a handful of concerns would only result in unnecessary setbacks.
Whilst the Federation appreciates legitimate concerns outlined by the Legacy Foundations and other organizations, these can and must be addressed and the national dialogue proceed as intended. If we wait for all issues, be it logistics, organizational or philosophical, to be resolved, we may find that time will simply run out.
And Mali has arrested dozens of soldiers suspected of plotting to overthrow the junta, which itself took power in a coup. Since seizing the reins in Mali through back-to-back coups in 2020 and 2021, the junta has ramped up repression of its critics in the face of widespread jihadist unrest. The unrests are believed to be linked to an attempt to destabilize the institutions, and among those arrested was a general, a former governor, and a respected military officer. A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures are at lows of 5 and 7 degrees, peaking at highs between 18 and 21.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M1 North between the Boysons Road exit and Car Street. There's also queuing traffic on the N1 North between Malibongwe Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive.
The top story, police have been called to respond with proportional force when facing armed criminals.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 in brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Fly Safe's Business Booster is back to help elevate and celebrate small local businesses. Enter now at flysafe.co.za. Tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across Fly Safe's various platforms. Whether you're making, creating, or innovating, we're here to help your business not just take off, but skyrocket. Fly Safe, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Every business begins with heart, but it thrives with support. And no one backs Gauteng's dreamers and doers like 702, Yoko, and you. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702 and Yoko are back to recognize and celebrate the local entrepreneurs making life better. From your favorite coffee spot to the baker who knows your name, from the salon that raised generations to the bold newcomer raising the bar. Just think of the business that made you feel seen. Now's your chance to say, I see you. I see you. Go to primediaplus.com to view the categories and make your nomination. Because this province isn't just the hub of business, it's the home of excellence. And excellence deserves your applause. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko Counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point of sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Hi, good morning, Bongani. Look, the CODESA came and went. Ordinary people were not involved. Those who thought were the leaders of the people went there and they negotiated and they, gave away whatever and they accepted whatever. Now they're coming with this dialogue. The ordinary people still don't know when this thing is happening. Well, maybe they know when it's happening. They don't know where it's happening. They don't know who will be participating. And those who are participating, who selected them? Who said you and you will be part of the dialogue?
Morning. Regarding the national dialogue, I'd like to see the full program schedule for all events planned across the 9 provinces, because I have not seen anything in terms of that as yet. And I'm sure the media would have an indication of that already from the presidency. Well, we hope so at least. Looking forward to your response on air. Thank you. Bye.
Good morning, Bongani. The biggest dialogue that I would appreciate is the dialogue amongst the ANC members themselves. The Mbekis, the Ramaphosa, Paul Mashatile, all of them, Motlanti, all of them, they must have a dialogue on how did they get to 40%. They lost election with Ramaphosa as a driver. How did they get? That's the dialogue that I want to hear. They must do it in public so that we can hear. How? And they can't even get rid of him. That's the sad part about it. I want to know. That's the dialogue I'm looking forward to.
I actually think the ANC will remember, they will miss Cyril Ramaphosa when he goes. I think the ANC would have had a much, much worse battering had he not been in charge of the party. The dialogues they have are clear for all to see. Didn't the Integrity Commission now clear Paul Mashatile of the issues that were swirling around his name? Those are the kind of dialogues they have internally. I did announce earlier that we're going to have a press briefing later on today to give us some of the details, but it's happening the 15th and 16th. I said the 15th was on Thursday. It is, in fact, on Friday. Someone on X pointing that out to me. Thank you very much. So the dialogue is happening on Friday at UNISA as to who gets to attend and how they do so, how they find who is a delegate and who is a delegate and who is not. We'll get from the specifics of that briefing a little later on today. And of course, coming up, I will be speaking to Vincent Magwenya, who is the president's spokesperson.
EWN Sport.
18 to 7. Welcome back, Anthony Teixeira. You spending the week with us?
I am indeed. Yes.
This is good. This is good.
Your eyes say differently, but we'll go with it.
What do my eyes say?
Shock and horror, like a deer in headlights. But don't worry, I'll keep you company until Friday.
You are clearly not the person to call in a police lineup to read faces, are you?
Not at all.
I tell you who else wasn't reading faces was the Proteas, hey?
Yeah, they weren't reading that ball either. Honestly, it was a struggle for them. But yeah, the Proteas didn't have their way against Australia as they lost the first T20 of their series by 17 runs, despite Kwena Mapaka's 4 for 20 and the Baggy Greens at one point being 75 for 6. They managed to set a formidable 179-run target for the South Africans. That's thanks largely to player of the match Tim David and his 83. In response, Ryan Richardson hit 71, but with wickets falling around him, it just wasn't enough as he could only see them reach 161 for 9. The batter was critical of his own performance.
No excuse, I just really tried to hit the ball and I just kept clothing it. So yeah, a bit disappointed with the way that it looks like a little bit better than what it felt. But in the end, it just wasn't enough to, I didn't find my groove quick enough in order to, get the team to over the line.
Elsewhere, the West Indies won a rain-disturbed second ODI against Pakistan by 5 wickets. Switching to football, the Betway Premiership returned this past weekend. Kaizer Chiefs continue to prove to be Stellenbosch's undoing as they won 2-0 at the Athlone Stadium. Siviwe Nkwala was sent off for Stellies just 13 minutes into his debut. Assistant coach Khalil Ben Yusuf, who took charge of the game, dedicated that victory to Nazruddin Nabi, who travelled home to Tunisia after his wife suffered a critical accident.
We promise to win this game for our coach Nazruddin Nabi, that he knows all of you that he have incident, and we pray for his wife to, inshallah, to be better, and as soon as possible he will come back with us.
Meanwhile, Sunday saw Gavin Hunt start his life at Durban City with a 2-0 victory of his own over TS Galaxy. Points dropped Saturday for Mamelodi Sundowns and Orlando Pirates with a draw and loss respectively. In England, Crystal Palace have another trophy to display alongside their FA Cup. That's the Community Shield. They twice came from a goal down to end 2-2 with Liverpool. Goalkeeper Dean Henderson then made 2 saves in the shootouts as the Eagles won 3-2 on penalties. Switching to rugby, where the Lions' unbeaten start to the Currie Cup season came crashing down after Boland sealed a bonus point 29-10 win. And in golf, Dean Burmester made a birdie on the playoff hole to clinch the Live Golf Chicago victory. The All-South African Stingers team ended a 31-event drought as they won the team events also via playoff hole, thanks to Brandon Grace and Charles Schwartzel. The weekend has left Burmester 4th in the standings.
The moment after the emotion of trying to win a golf tournament there's nothing sweeter than that. And then to have these two boys on the ends to kind of do it right behind me, and all 3 of us to be the playoff hole is special.
Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
The brainy kids of the Whiz
A free-flowing front Hi, Uncle Bongani. My name is Don. When I grow up, I would like to become a pilot. I'm 11 years old, and I'm so excited to play the Whiz Quiz with you today.
We're excited to play the Whiz Quiz with you too. Can you walk away with the 10,000 Rand?
EWN Traffic.
This Eyewitness News Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702. The N3 North, delays in that area. Amo?
Yes, Bongani, this is due to peak time delays between the Elands Interchange and Modderfontein Road. And if you are traveling on the N12 West, do be on the lookout for a car that is stuck on the road right near the Kiluli's off-ramp. Delays coming out of Edenville Road and in Kempton Park. We still have got roadworks taking place along the R21 South. They are right near the R23, bound to cause delays. Please be on the lookout there. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
If you want to save on your car insurance premium, you call Outsurance, right? But what if you don't save? Well, then you can ask them for 500 Rand cash and make that 1,500 Rand if you've been claim free with the same insurer for 3 years. You've got nothing to lose. Get a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za.
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview. 702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
Hi, this is Craig from Kempton Park. What an amazing experience, I must say, especially visiting, people behind the scenes. There's a lot of amazing people that we don't know about behind the scenes that's working very hard to serve you, the listener. Very, very impressed with everything that's going on. Fantastic studios, very professional setup, trendy, vibey. It epitomizes everything that this radio station does, and definitely it is the radio station for the people.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
So we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
The Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra returns for the second week of the early spring symphony season under the baton of conductor Mayan Chen, joined by captivating pianist Judith Jarigui. The program includes favorites by Mozart, Haydn and Beethoven, and it's a concert not to be missed. Thursday, the 14th of August at 7:30 p.m. at the Linda Auditorium. Tickets available through Quicket.
Dear Journal, trying to be an adult day 3731. I'm really struggling to explain my parents to my therapist. Might send him to live with them so he can see for himself. What if he ends up in therapy too? Wait, what if they love him more than me?
Finally learning about mental health. Get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's convenient and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
Who is the whizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 702.
Let's give away some money, shall we? Today we're playing with Don, who wants to be a pilot later on in life. Don, a very good morning to you. How old are you?
Morning, Uncle Bongani. I'm 11 years old.
You are 11 years old and you go to Kuro Academy, Riverside. Let's see, Don, if you can fly away with 10,000 Rand. KG, start the clock. Spell the word destroy.
DESTROY.
Correct. What is the name of the national bird of South Africa? The African finfoot or the blue crane?
The blue crane.
Correct. Complete the movie title. What of a wimpy kid? Diary. In football, how many players are on the field for one team?
11.
Correct. True or false? The sun is the brightest star in the universe.
True.
It's false. In which country would you find Mount Kilimanjaro?
Tanzania.
Correct. True or false? Wood will sink in water.
False. True.
It's false. What beginning with C is the official count of a country's population?
Centimeter.
The census. What is the process by which plants... I can't complete the question. I cannot complete the question. Don, bit of a rough one there for you. You did take a bit of a pause on one of the questions. Always best to just keep it moving and say pass if you don't quite have the answer. 400 Rand is what you walk away with, though. You walk away with something. If you rate 10 to 13, send us a WhatsApp voice note and tell us your name and why you want to play the Whiz Quiz.
The brainy kids of the Whiz Quiz
on 702.
Coming up in the next hour, what's the question? Brought to you by Outsurance. Up to 3,000 Rand in cash is up for grabs. You send us an answer based on something you heard on the show that piqued your interest. You could win 1,000 Rand for that. You WhatsApp us your name and the answer to 072-702-1702. Then a little later, someone else will ask a question to win 2,000 Rand. Now, you always stand a better chance of being selected. You've SMS'd out to Outsurance and got yourself that quote. So what are you waiting for? 45142. SMS out right now.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
Well, whose dialogue is it anyway? As you heard in Eyewitness News, several prominent civil society organizations, many of them linked to the names of illustrious struggle stalwarts, have cited a rushed timeline, inadequate preparation, disagreements within the preparatory task team, and government control as reasons for pulling out of the much vaunted national dialogue. And it may present a serious dent to the standing and reputation of President Cyril Ramaphosa, who has championed this gathering as a significant moment for the country. Foundations named after Steve Biko, Desmond and Lea Tutu, Oliver Tambo, and even F.W. de Klerk will no longer participate, at least not in the planning phase. Most notably, the chief patron of the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, after whom it is named, is seen as a force behind getting the organization on board in the first instance, but also the reason they are objecting and pulling out. Well, to explain how all of this is going to work, we're joined, I'm pleased to tell you, by the presidential spokesperson, Vincent Makwenya. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Pearl, and good morning to your listeners.
Let me quote Peter Bruce to you. He wrote in yesterday's Sunday Times that no other leader of the ANC has faced a public rebellion by its political elite on this scale before, end quote. Surely these withdrawals will do significant damage to the prestige, if not gravitas, of this gathering.
No, not quite, Bongani. This national dialogue belongs to South Africans, and it's a South African national dialogue. No one has single appropriation or ownership of it. Government is only there to facilitate and ensure that it happens. It is not surprising that in the lead up to it, you have parties or entities choosing not to be part of the preparations. You will recall, Bongani, when we were heading towards CODESA, there were parties who boycotted those processes and those talks. So long as the overwhelming majority of South Africans recognize the opportunity, the importance of this national dialogue, more importantly, the National Convention as a kickoff to the actual dialogue, we're fairly comfortable that we'll be able to proceed, and the credibility of the exercise will be maintained throughout.
You've heard the arguments before. A skeptical public might say another imbizo to cost taxpayers hundreds of millions, so really the elites can discuss what ordinary folk already know?
Well, Bongani, we're a country whose foundations are founded or pillared around talking to each other. After 30 years or so, there is admittedly a degree of concern, in some quarters unhappiness, with the direction that the country is taking. And in typical South African sort of form, we are reviewing where we are and reviewing where we want to be. And the only way we can do it is to sit down and talk. This constitutional democracy that we are enjoying today is a byproduct of a dialogue process that carried us through from a very painful time of our history to where we are today. And again, in mapping the way forward, we will do that which we've done quite successfully in the past.
I'll come at it another way to you. Again, I'm going to paraphrase now a line from one of my favorite movies, As Good as It Gets, the Jack Nicholson character, who would say to you, Vincent, we're drowning and you want a meeting to discuss and describe the water.
No, and that will assume that nothing is being done to tackle the current challenges that we are facing. A lot is being done, albeit it may not be at a faster pace, it may not be as quick as people would like to see, against the scale and magnitude of the challenges that we are faced with as a country. There are a lot of positive that can be drawn out of where we are 31 years later. However, we still need to align ourselves and review our path and our direction and say, is this where we want to be? And is this constitution still serving us the way we want it to serve us? For example, there are many issues that we still need to review, and the national dialogue provides that opportunity. Parallel to that, of course, government is doing the best it can with the limited resources that it has to work through these challenges.
Would you agree with the Sunday Times' characterization of part of the issues being personal tensions between the former president and your boss?
No, not quite. Not quite. They don't always agree on issues, yes, but in this particular case, They've not even spoken about this issue. This is an issue arising out of the temporary preparatory task team, where the members of that task team could not agree on various issues, including the state of readiness and the availability of funds. But the president and former President Mbeki have not discussed this matter, and so I will not draw them directly into these issues. The president did his best to lend his ear to the members of the PTT and discuss their concerns and try and work through possible solutions. There were solutions that were presented on the table, but they didn't accept them. So I will not venture that far as the Sunday Times sought to yesterday.
Without strong civil society voices, because even though you say this belongs to all of us as South Africans, these are credible voices who come with remarkable histories of the individuals after whom they are named and whose values they promote. Without their voices, and even a sense really that they are in fact the drivers of this kind of thing, how can it succeed?
No, with all due respect, Bongani, they do not represent any significant constituencies in the country, and that's a reality. Illustrious as they may represent the founders or they may be, the reality is we have more civil society voices still involved. More foundations have come forward, foundations named or founded after struggle stalwarts who have come forward and offered their support to the PTT.
What's the price tag?
Well, Bongani, it's a moving target with the sole aim of adjusting it downwards. The president and the deputy president are quite firm on reducing the cost. We will have a sense of the real budget requirement after the National Convention, because it's the National Convention that will then determine the final roadmap of the National Dialogue.
As of today, what's the price tag?
I can't give you that number, Bongani. I wish I could.
Ballpark.
Right now, we have the first tranche that is just aimed at the National Convention, and that amount has also been reduced. The rest of the National Dialogue, we will be able to give you that number after the National Convention.
Sure, but what's the ballpark? Where are we playing here? Give me a sense of, the parameters.
Well, the problem is we don't know what will be the total elements that the national conventions will decide on of the dialogue. The national convention alone had been estimated around 22 million rands, but that number has been reduced significantly because of the sponsorship and the in-kind support we've been able to secure, as we've outlined in our statement yesterday.
I'm hearing hundreds of millions of rands, that the initial reduction was around 750 or thereabouts million rand, and that's now we're sitting at about 400-500?
The foundations that come up with a number over 800 million, and immediately there was no agreement around that number, and the directive that the president gave was that that number must be significantly reduced, and it cannot be finalized until after the convention has concluded on the process and the roadmap of the actual dialogue.
What's the president's ceiling?
Well, he's enthused that, the foundations that have withdrawn from the preparatory purposes have committed that they will continue to participate in the national dialogue. They will continue to mobilize for participation. And he's enthused that we are there in terms of the state of readiness. If there are teething problems.
Sure. No, sorry. My question was around, you said there was an initial figure of around 800 million, which the president said must be reduced. Yes. So if he wanted it reduced, what was his ceiling? What was his figure?
No. He didn't have a ceiling in mind. He was just taken aback that there was such a huge number being bandied about, and he was not satisfied with how that number was arrived at, and instructed that that number be reviewed significantly.
Final question, if I may. You may understand how little trust there might be from the public. I mean, if monies for Nelson Mandela's funeral were abused, do you understand the skepticism of some members of the public?
Absolutely, Bongani. One will concede to that, that we've lost an element of trust of the public when it comes to the spending of public funds, which is the reason why the president is insistent that all PFMA rules and regulations are adhered to, and that spending is reduced significantly.
All right. Always appreciate your time, Vincent Makwenya, the presidential spokesperson.
702.
Coming up, the big interview.
Big interview focuses on a brigadier supposedly without any formal policing training, whilst out on bail on corruption charges, has been promoted to the head of a visible policing unit. That's all to come after this Eyewitness News, brought to you by Khaliq's. Khaliq's, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
This is EWN.
A manhunt is underway for suspects behind police killings, and Gayton McKenzie comes under fire for his old tweets. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. Police are searching for people behind the murders of 3 officers in Gauteng and Mpumalanga. 2 cops were shot on Friday while transporting Jabulani Moyo back to prison following his court appearance at the Roodepoort Magistrates Court. Moyo escaped from custody after the attack and was last seen driving the police vehicle, which was later found abandoned. A sergeant in Mpumalanga was murdered while responding to a business burglary in Skumansal over the weekend. Acting Police Minister Firoz Kachalia visited the bereaved families and condemned the targeting of police officers.
Support for the family and making the funeral arrangements and for all the consequences that follow a murder of a police officer are in the responsibility of the provincial commissioner, and he's assured me that all of that is being taken, and the family, all of that is being taken care of.
The EFF says it's hypocritical for Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie to call out racism when he himself has a history of uttering racial slurs towards black people. Over the weekend, old social media posts resurfaced in which McKenzie used several derogatory terms to describe black people. This comes just days after McKenzie filed hate speech charges against the Open Chat podcast for making offensive remarks towards colored people. Alfara Mushwana reports.
As Patriotic Alliance leader Gayton McKenzie calls for action against the Open Chat podcast, he's now facing scrutiny for tweets he posted over 10 years ago. Both the EFF and Action SA have called for his removal from cabinet, saying there cannot be a minister with a history of using offensive language towards specific racial groups. The political organizations contend that McKenzie's statements are not mere slips of the tongue, but rather deliberate remarks intended to cause harm. In a video message to supporters last week explaining why he was taking action against the podcasters, McKenzie said he had a zero-tolerance approach to racism in the party and even dismissed one of its own members for using the K-word.
I have fired somebody, a pastor actually, on the Cape Flats because he called people. I fired him on the spot.
Action SA has now reported McKenzie to the South African Human Rights Commission. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
With the national budget passed and the GNU tensions having simmered somewhat, the DA again looks set to stoke the fires when it announces its reform plan today for 3 contentious pieces of legislation. These include the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment, the Employment Equity Act and the Expropriation Act. Lindsay Dentlinker has more.
The DA has made it clear it's not prepared to let go of its opposition to certain laws passed by the previous administration and before the formation of the GNU. In February, the party filed a case in the Western Cape High Court against the Expropriation Act to challenge the constitutionality of expropriation without compensation. The party's Minister of Public Works, Dean McPherson, is in the awkward position of having to implement it, with the court yet to hear the case. In May, the DA argued before the North Gauteng High Court that race quotas in the labour sector, as imposed by the Employment Equity Act, are unconstitutional. Judgment in that matter is still awaited. Today, the party's leader, John Steenhuisen, is expected to be joined by all DA ministers to present what the party says is a set of urgent, practical and implementable reforms and alternatives to these acts, and around which it will campaign. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
And 5 Al Jazeera journalists have been killed by an Israeli targeted strike near Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. The broadcaster says Anas Al-Sharif and Mohammed Kraikai plus 3 cameramen were in a tent for journalists at the hospital's main gate when it was targeted. The Israeli Defense Force confirmed the strike but accused journalist Anas Al-Sharif of heading a Hamas cell and advancing rocket attacks against Israeli civilians and Israeli troops. Al Jazeera says the assassination is yet another blatant and premeditated attack on press freedom. The Euromed Human Rights Monitor says there's zero evidence that Al-Sharif took part in any hostilities. Meanwhile, 5 European members of the UN Security Council have condemned Israel's plans to take over control of Gaza City. Slovenian ambassador to the UN, Samuel Zegbora.
This plan risks violating international humanitarian law. We call on Israel to urgently reverse this decision and not to implement.
Gold is trading at $3,377.26 an ounce. The rand is at 17.72 to the dollar, 23.86 to the pound, 20.68 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.28 a barrel.
Traffic is heavily backed up on the M1 North between Boysons Road and Jan Smuts Avenue. This is due to an accident right after Empire Road. It's causing heavy delays. Empire Road in itself is backed up between Bergherzog and the M1.
And in your sport, Kaizer Chiefs clinch a 5th consecutive league win over Stellenbosch as they started their Betway Premiership campaign with a 2-0 win at the Athlone Stadium. Proteas lose their first T20 against rivals Australia, and the Springbok women fill up their World Cup squad with experience.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. Johannesburg is at a low of 6 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 7 and 21, Vereeniging 5 and 20. The top story in EWN this hour: police are searching for people behind the murders of 3 officers in Gauteng and Mpumalanga.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You may not know this, but 2 things stand in the way of some young people getting a job interview. One is the cost of travel, and the other, the cost of a suit. So since Khaliks introduced their suit trade-in promotion, over 7,000 have been refurbished and redistributed. Thanks to you. Khaliks are committed to helping young people find employment and have helped in training them too. So when it comes to business, start with Khaliks, committed to helping young businessmen make their best start. Khaliks, for the businessman who knows what he wants.
You know greatness when you see it. Now it's time to celebrate it. Gauteng's greatest awards with 702. Powered by Yoko. Head to primediaplus.com to make your nomination.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
9 after 7. We spoke just before the news to the presidential spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya. Are you satisfied with his answers about the national dialogue? There'll be a press briefing a little later on today that will give us the specifics, but it's starting on the 15th of August. I said that's Thursday. In fact, that's Friday, 15 and 16 August. So there's going to be a convention to discuss the national dialogue. So it's not the actual dialogue itself that's starting this week. Are we ready? Do you know how to engage or participate? Or do you see this as really a gathering of the elites, gathering to discuss ordinary problems that we, ordinary folk, are already aware of? Do we need to be told what the problems of the country are? About high rates of crime, about corruption, about a lack of service delivery, about politics trumping principle, the politicians enriching themselves, gorging themselves on the public purse? Do we need to be told about gender-based violence? I said earlier, isn't it extraordinary that hot on the heels of a Women's Day celebration, the women who marched against the past laws, they didn't need a budget, right? They didn't need a budget. They got themselves there. They walked. They came by trains, by buses, by car, and they were there.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
11 after 7, things of interest in the news cycle. Let's start with last week, US President Donald Trump issuing a rare and stark warning, saying he's ordered 2 nuclear submarines to position near Russia. And he says it was in response to aggressive comments made by Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's former president and now deputy chair of its Security Council. And the move sparked some alarm and some debate. But now I want you to listen to Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, speaking to CNN's Caitlin Collins about what Trump doesn't understand when it comes to the deployment of these weapons and where they are positioned in the first place.
It seems to reveal Trump doesn't really understand how our nuclear navy works and what their plan of operation is. What Trump may not be understanding here, in which the Kremlin could be misreading, is how the ballistic missile nuclear submarines that we have operate and how they function and serve basically as our second strike capability in the event of a nuclear war. The Ohio-class submarines, the ones that carry the ballistic missiles, don't sit around in port. They're out in a complex, obviously highly classified schedule on what are called extended deterrence patrols. That is to say, a sufficient number of them are in position right now to retaliate against a Russian nuclear attack. That's why they're put out there, so they don't have to go anywhere. They're already there and are hopefully undetectable, so that a Russian or later a Chinese first strike can't take them out at the beginning. So to say he's going to move those kinds of submarines anywhere indicates he doesn't know how they work right now.
I thought that was an incredible insight into how all of that, and it makes sense, of course, because you wouldn't keep these things, I don't know, in some harbor waiting for someday when things might go wrong. They must be ready and be deployed at a moment's notice. Yesterday, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu giving a rare press briefing to foreign media in Jerusalem, and he outlined in that discussion his plans for the next phase of the war in Gaza. Nearly 2 years into the conflict, of course, criticism of Israel's conduct is growing, no least because 5 Al Jazeera journalists have been killed by a targeted strike near Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. But Netanyahu maintains that if there's any hunger in Gaza, it's because of Hamas.
Hamas has violently looted the aid trucks meant to get to Palestinian civilians. They deliberately created a shortage of supply. And the UN consistently refused until recently to distribute the thousands of trucks that we let into Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing. So there are problems. We've had tons of uncollected food rotting on the Gazan side of the border because the UN was and still is unwilling to deliver all of it.
Well, if journalists can be targeted in strikes, I wonder why the UN might be reluctant, even if that version of what Netanyahu says is true.
702. Up next,
The Big Interview.
EWN Traffic.
The 7:15, this Eyewitness News Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702. That crash on the M1 North, is it bad?
It's really a hectic one, Bongani, because it happened right after Empire Road and it's causing delays all the way from the turn off. Also, do remember that on this route you still have to deal with the peak time delays at this time of the morning, and Empire Road in itself backed up towards the M1 exit. We also have queuing traffic along the Winnie Mandela Drive. This is just as you head towards the N1, obviously due to peak time delays there as you come out of Witwatersrand Road. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clever late excuse number 74. The elevator was broken, so you had to take the stairs all the way up. Well, fortunately, Outsurance pointsmen are on the roads, and you no longer have to come up with creative excuses for being late. The Outsurance pointsmen easing traffic congestion to get you there quickly and safely. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out, in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Fly Safe's Business Booster is back to help elevate and celebrate small local businesses. Enter now at flysafe.co.za. Tell us about your business, and you could be one of 6 standout enterprises to win 10 return business class flights plus brand exposure across Fly Safe's various platforms. Whether you're making, creating, or innovating, we're here to help your business not just take off, but skyrocket. Fly Safe, for the love of flying. T's and C's apply.
Change arrives kicking and screaming. It's challenging, impatient, confusing. Change is a moment of peace. Change is life affirming. Change is growth. Change is opportunity. We've always believed it's worth investing in. For over 3 decades, we have been committed to seeking out the best investment opportunities for you, wherever they may be. 91. Investing for a world of change. 91 is an authorized FSP.
702.
The Big Interview
with Bongani Bingwa.
17 after 7. Who will guard the Guardians? The temporary head of visible policing in the Moot district in Pretoria would not be so visible herself if she was patrolling the streets. According to a complaint by the Democratic Alliance, she's never worn a police uniform, has never been trained as an officer, but it gets worse. Not long before her elevation to this high profile, so just a few weeks ago, she was behind bars facing charges of fraud, corruption, and the abuse of the SAPS's secret service funds. SAPS management say, yeah, but it's just a redeployment, a temporary transfer. So we thought we'd talk matters policing and about some of this where top cops are themselves facing serious allegations. Who will guard the Guardians? David Bruce is an independent researcher on policing and public security and joins us now on the line. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time once again.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning to your listeners.
So let's start with this individual who has been criminally charged, ostensibly with no formal police training or experience, who must now issue instructions to officers on the ground.
Right, yeah. Well, I think obviously this is an unsatisfactory situation. As far as I know, the person that we're talking about has already been charged, well, at this point, on 3 separate occasions, has had criminal charges instituted against her, twice in 2022. And so, you know, what would want is that if a person is reasonably suspected of involvement in criminal activity, obviously that person should not be in the SAPS. And, it seems that in some, almost possibly ridiculous type of way, this person has been redeployed from her previous role and currently finds herself in an operational role.
I mean, because I was just reflecting on the matter from a few weeks ago, and I'll come back to that in a moment, and I'll tell you why. But if you're an average officer, you really mean to do good work, how can that kind of thing sit with you, that you must now take instructions from somebody that you say has been charged previously, not just the matter from a few weeks ago, but in what, 2-3 years ago?
Well, I wasn't familiar with the information that you provided about deployment as a head of visible policing. What I understood we would be talking about was a case of someone who's now facing 3 different prosecutions for procurement-related allegations of corruption, and continues to be employed in the SAPS.
I think this is
so
one.
I must admit to being slightly confused as to whether we're talking about exactly the same case.
We can move on to that one, David. It's fine. I was just trying. I was under the impression that we had given you this information as well. That's fine. My apology. That's the mistake is on our side. But I wanted to use both these examples as what happens when disciplinary processes within the police seem to go wrong. The idea that senior officials are accused of serious wrongdoing and are still in decision-making roles within the force.
Right, yeah. It's, to an outsider, it's quite perplexing. Obviously, in the case that I understood that we would be focusing on, we have a situation where someone is facing now 3 procurement-related criminal charges, and 2 of them date back to 2022. And, the question would be why this person is still serving in the SAPS. The one question would be about suspension, but the one thing is that the disciplinary regulations, in fact, provide that a person cannot be suspended without pay for more than 90 days. So, suspension is not doesn't resolve this kind of situation. Yeah. And so it's, the SAPS, if they wanted to avoid this kind of situation, they would need to use the disciplinary system rather than, suspending the person, because, that suspension would simply mean that the person, is sitting at home drawing a police salary, potentially, indefinitely. And so, the question is, why do they not have the, why doesn't the disciplinary system, isn't it used to remove a person who's facing, has been facing 2 criminal charges since 2022 from the ranks of the police? And so, the one thing that we do know is that the disciplinary system, there's a lot of evidence that it's in many ways dysfunctional, but this is a case where it seems that disciplinary processes have not even been instituted against the person. And so, that raises very serious questions about, what's going on here.
I mean, we have seen this kind of thing really quite extraordinary in the context of, say, the Mkhwanazi allegations, right? A serious number of senior leaders of the police facing criminal charges. We know of the National Head of Crime Intelligence, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, the Crime Intelligence Chief Financial Officer, Philani Lushaba, the Crime Intelligence Technical Support System Manager, Brigadier Dineo Mukwele, the Gauteng Crime Intelligence Boss. This is Major General Josias Likalakala, the Head of Analysis Center, Major General Nosipo Precious Madondo. I can go on and on and on and on. And more generally then, David, what picture does that paint of the accountability pipeline when officers that senior face charges of criminality?
Right. Well, it's a question which I would also ask. The one thing is that there is some evidence that, at least against rank and file members of the service, there is some willingness to take action, disciplinary action for corruption-related cases. In fact, the evidence suggests that there's a great enthusiasm for instituting corruption disciplinary charges against rank and file members who are facing allegations of corruption. For instance, in relation to allegations of brutality. And so, to some degree, the available evidence indicates that where at least rank and file members face allegations of corruption and are convicted, they're likely to be dismissed from the SAPS. But there's a question about whether that same kind of willingness to institute disciplinary measures is, falls away where these are more senior members of the SAPS. And so, there's at least a question as to whether there is a double standard that is applied as to...
Sorry, David.
Go ahead. Sorry.
How should it work? I mean, if oversight mechanisms were functioning properly, how would it work in terms of even the role of IPID or even the NPA or even internal processes? How should it work?
Well, you see, what this comes down to is that at the end of the day, there's two possibilities. The one thing is the criminal justice system, and the other thing is the police disciplinary system itself. And so, firstly, there's a question about who is responsible for, if it's a corruption case, who's responsible for the investigation. And, the one aspect of this is that IPID does very few corruption investigations, and certainly where they are, as far as I know, the corruption investigations that they tend to do are more, sort of more straightforward type of cases. So when one's talking about procurement corruption, in the case that I was, focusing on, the investigations were being conducted by the independent directorate in the NPA. And so, potentially that's quite a challenging thing for, disciplinary officials to also engage with. But nevertheless, what we also know is that there's a lot of evidence that the SAPS disciplinary system is, highly dysfunctional. And so there seems to be, little possibility that particularly where there are more complex cases, that the disciplinary system will be used to remove the person from the ranks of the SAPS. And so, there's is now talk of establishing dedicated disciplinary units within the SAPS. But that's still, on the drawing board, and there needs to be movement towards, actually establishing those units.
David Bruce, appreciate your time. Independent researcher on policing and public security.
EWN Business.
28 after 7. Mateo Khodipe, let's get into business news now. The SARS Commissioner prepares revenue collector staff for his departure. Is it next year he's going, eh?
Yeah, at the end of May. He has not resigned yet, but has already sent out an internal email to staff. The South African Revenue Service Commissioner, Edward Kieswetter, will step down at the end of May next year. In an internal email to SARS staff, Kieswetter said his 2-year contract extension was coming to an end, and he was speaking with Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana and President Cyril Ramaphosa on how best to handle the leadership transition at SARS. Kieswetter was first appointed to head the Revenue Service in 2019 with a mandate to rebuild the tax authority. Kieswetter has improved auto assessments and introduced things like artificial intelligence to improve collection efficiencies. In 2023, President Cyril Ramaphosa extended his tenure by an additional 2 years.
US chip company Nvidia in trouble for selling products to the Chinese?
Yeah, NVIDIA and Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, have agreed to give the U.S. government a share of revenues from certain chips sold in China. They will pay 15% on that. The Financial Times reports that the U.S. chip giant has made an unprecedented arrangement with the White House. In exchange for the 15% of revenues from the chip sales, the two chip makers will receive an export license to sell chips in China. The U.S. in July reversed an April ban on the sale of the H2O chip to China. NVIDIA had tailored the microprocessor especially for the Chinese market to comply with the Biden-era AI chip export control. So really doing the government's bidding at the moment.
All right, where's the rand? Is it doing our bidding?
Rand at this hour still quite positive, doing the country's bidding at 17 Rand 70 against the US dollar, 20 Rand 67 against the euro, and at 23 Rand 84 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $3,376 an ounce, or platinum at $1,321. Brent crude at $66.17 a barrel. More business after 8.
Right, let's go straight to the news desk. Sfiso Zulu, what do you have at this hour?
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. After months of delays and a National Executive Committee in shambles, last week Andile Lungisa emerged as the lone voice calling for the ANC Supreme Body to be disbanded. EWN understands Lungisa, who is part of the NEC, stood up to make the call during last week's meeting. He suggested former President Thabo Mbeki should take over the reins as convener, while former ANC Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe should become the coordinator. Tsidi Madia has more.
Andile Lungisa has seemingly brought back calls for this NEC to be disbanded. Similar suggestions were made following a bruising performance in the 2024 elections. EWN understands Lungisa told the party's highest decision-making body in between conferences it's failed, criticizing its inability to hold timely NEC meetings, not bothering to gather even in the midst of the budget crisis. He's believed to have said this NEC not only brought the ANC to 40% in the last election, but has no concrete plans to change its luck next year. He's also hit out at his party over its lack of documents or positions to counter the country's failing economy and rising unemployment, instead accusing the ANC of allowing private interests to take over SOEs. Some NEC members have echoed his sentiments, telling EWN the NEC is not even showing signs of readiness for its upcoming National General Council, let alone this week's national dialogue, which it endorsed. Lungisa could not be reached for comment. Tsidi Madia, Eyewitness News.
Civil rights group Not In My Name is calling for police to respond with proportional force when facing armed criminals. The organization was reacting to comments made by National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola, who said it cannot be business as usual when criminals declare war on police. Masemola's remarks came after the recent killings of officers in Mpumalanga and Gauteng. Jabulile Mbata reports.
The president of Not In My Name, Siyabulela Gentile, says police officers must be empowered to meet deadly threats with deadly force when necessary. He believes it is up to the newly appointed acting police minister, Feroz Kachalia, to issue a clear directive on how officers should respond to violent crime. Gentile adds that the minister has yet to gain public trust.
South Africa is facing an alarming escalation in brazen attacks on law enforcement officers, a crisis that has intensified since the appointment of acting minister Feroz Kachalia. His views on policing public posture and policy signals have created a dangerous perception that the state's resolve to confront crime is weakening.
Gentile also cited the recent murder of a police officer in Mpumalanga, saying it highlights the severity of the crime crisis facing the country. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
Gauteng's tourism sector has injected 41 billion rand into the provincial GDP for the 2024-2025 financial year. Economic Development MEC Lebogang Maile says this is above the targeted 29 billion rand set by his department. Maile shared the update yesterday during a briefing on the department's performance, and he said that the province has also welcomed 3.8 million international visitors.
This growth was not accidental. It is a product of targeted strategic investment in increased airlift capacity, new air routes development, and heightened and impact-driven destination marketing initiatives and strategic bidding and hosting of catalytic signature events, conferences, and exhibitions.
And US President Donald Trump says homeless people must move out of Washington, D.C. This is part of his promise to tackle crime in the capital. But the mayor has pushed back against the White House comparing Washington to Baghdad. Mayor Muriel Bowser, a Democrat, says they are not experiencing a crime spike. Trump signed an order last month making it easier to arrest homeless people, and last week ordered law enforcement into the streets of Washington, D.C. A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures are at lows of 5 and 7 degrees, peaking at highs between 18 and 21.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on at the N1 North between the N12 exit and the Deep Kloof interchange due to a major accident there. The Golden Highway also packed up with traffic volumes towards the N1 exit. Please be on the lookout there.
The top story this hour, Andile Lungisa has emerged as the lone voice calling for the ANC's NEC to be disbanded.
There's strong, then there's AfriSem Strong. So champion the build with AfriSem Cement, the trusted A1 choice for builders who demand nothing less than superior quality. Crafted for exceptional strength, proven durability, and proudly produced in Mzansi. Because some builds just aren't strong. They're built to last with AfriSam, proud official sponsor to the Springboks.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and really all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. So catch it this Wednesday at 10 to 9. We're featuring Unilever Southern Africa. Their CEO, Justin Apsey, will be in conversation with me. We do this on Wednesdays to highlight efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and together make a difference.
Dear Journal, day 4602 of trying to be an adult. My doctor asked me how my quality of rest is at the moment. I told him I have two problems. I struggle to sleep at night, but I also struggle to awake at day.
Aggressively realizing your age and get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's simple and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, Bongani and my fellow 702 listeners. Darian from Elders. Listening to this interview this morning, wow. You know what? One is reminded of the very fiber of what we've become in South Africa. Dishonesty, corruption, lack of integrity are all top of game these days.
Good morning, Bongani. So listening to your interview this morning regarding the police, the one thing that shocks me is that the media is aware of all of these allegations towards top cops. That means authorities or the oversight committees must be aware of all of these things. But the thing that bugs me the most, nothing is being done about them. They are still employed, they still run things, they are still in the police. Why, as a country, have we not taken action against these criminals? This is ridiculous.
Apparently we need to meet and talk about it, and so that's what we're doing this weekend. We're going to talk about talking about it, actually, because the actual dialogue doesn't start this weekend. This weekend is just to get a convention together to talk about talking about our problems. That's something, isn't it? For a second.
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by Outsurance. It's your chance to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. First, 1,000 Rand for the answer, and then a little later, 2,000 Rand if you can give us the question. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance. Today's answer comes from Sandile. Let's click there. Yeah, there we go. Sandile, what's today's answer?
Hi, Uncle Ross. Hi. The answer is 42.
42 is today's answer. Great stuff. Sandile, have you got yourself a quote from Outsurance?
Yes, I do, Uncle Ross.
Your biscuit. 1,000 Rand is coming your way, all thanks to Outsurance and 702. All right, there you have it. 42 is Sandile's answer. What's the question? Call us if you know on 011 8830 702.
EWN Sport.
All right, it's 20 to 8, and this EWN Sport is brought to you by RMB Corporate Banking. Ready, set, cash flow. Anthony Teixeira comes in for Cindy Paluta once more. Good morning to you.
Morning,
Once
Bongani.
more. Talk to me about the PSL season. Now, there are 3 clubs.
Yes.
Who've done what?
Who have competed in every single PSL season since its inception. That's, of course, Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, and Mamelodi Sundowns. And of
And
those,
no one else?
No.
No one else has been
in
there
fact,
for all 3.
Amazulu is the 4th side, but they've dropped down and then come back. But yeah, it's pretty interesting that...
Never missed a season.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Consistent, you could say. But Kaizer Chiefs were the only ones that picked up a win on the opening day of the Betway Premiership, as we did see Mamelodi Sundowns starting with the draw against Chippa, Orlando Pirates being stunned 1-0 by Sekhukhune United in what was Coach Abduslam Wadu's first game in charge.
You know why they lost?
Why did they lose?
They haven't sent me my Pirates shirt.
Oh, is that why? Well, let's talk about Amakosi as they took advantage yesterday as we saw Siviwe Nkwala sent off early for Stellies as they picked up a 2-0 win. EWN Sports reporter Kieran Thompson was at the Athlone Stadium for us.
A free-flowing front-footed affair unfolded in the mother city with both sides threatening in the early exchanges, but it was Siviwe Nkwali's 14th minute red card that sparked the match into life. Nkosi Ngipile Nkobo scored from the resulting free kick. 10-man Stellenbosch fought valiantly before a Glody Lalepo penalty secured the result for the Glamour Boys in added time. The Maroons are back in league action against Magesi on Wednesday before hosting Sekhukhune United in their MTN 8 semi-final next weekend. Kieran Thompson, Eyewitness News Sport, Athlone Stadium.
The other fixtures Sunday saw Gavin Hunt starting his Durban City adventure with a 2-0 win over TS Galaxy. The English season's curtain raiser, the Community Shield, was a delight with Liverpool twice taking the lead and then twice being pegged back by Crystal Palace, who then in the shootouts kept out 2 penalties as they won a 3-2. In tennis, the second round of the Cincinnati Open concluded with wins overnight for Zverev, Nakashima and Shelton. Meanwhile, Arina Sabalenka battled past Marketa Vondrousova 7-5, 6-1. And in case you missed it, the Springbok women have named an experienced squad for the upcoming Women's Rugby World Cup, with 19 of their 32 players having played at the showpiece before. Noludisiso Boy will be leading the side at the second successive tournament and the 4th overall for her. The captain says the work begins now before they even depart for England later in the week.
Everything needs to start now because we have to check and analyze and see their strong points and their weak points so that we can be able to have a good game. We know that we are not there, but we have to start now to put our minds in a right direction or in a right way so that we can have a similar goal or the same goal.
Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
Feeling some lag in Sector 3?
Copy. Optimizing working capital. Ready. You're approaching a tight corner. Cash flow pressure ahead.
Low on liquidity. Supply pressure is building. Set.
Deploying cash injection in 3, 2, 1. Flow.
Nice move. Better supply chain control.
Lab time advantage. Faster cash cycles, leaner inventory, and optimized working capital.
Ready, set, cash flow. Corporate banking from RMB. RMB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider.
Meet the new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, re-engineered to be our thinnest and lightest foldable yet. Move with confidence, powered by an ultra-sleek, ultra-slim design that adapts wherever life takes you. Open your world to expansive screens, seamlessly crafted for work and play. It's innovation that fits your pocket. Upgrade to the new Galaxy Z Fold 7 and get double the storage on us. Hurry, offer ends 31 August. T's and C's apply.
Medical aid plans, they're normally like this.
So, you'll need to take this form and this. So don't forget this too. Okay, wait. Don't forget this one. Wait. Okay, done. My back! Sorry, sir. That's gonna have to come out of your savings.
At Bonitas, we make our plans simple, so they're easy to understand. We also offer a benefit booster and a range of other benefits that don't come off your savings. Visit bonitas.co.za when you need us. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. T's and C's apply.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by the new Opel Grandland. With smart tech and striking design, it's German engineering on a grand scale. Test drive one today at your nearest Opel dealer. So it's 7:45. There's a crash in Centurion on the
N14,
N14, yeah.
And it's causing heavy delays coming out of the R55 towards the Braakfontein interchange. Please be on the lookout there. About a 20-minute hold up between the 2 points. And if you're traveling within the inner city of Centurion, do expect delays along several roads like Old Johannesburg Road, Lenshin Avenue. Obviously, peak time delays are also causing these delays at this particular moment. And if you're traveling in the southerly direction of the N1, do expect delays coming out of the Braakfontein interchange towards Olifantsfontein Road. Peak time delays there. There's also peak time congestion on the N1 North between Beazodia Drive and Winnie Mandela Drive, and that's due to peak time delays. So please be on the lookout and drive with care. And if you find yourself in the traffic, please be patient on the road. I'll have more updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Great entrance? Forget that. Make a grand entrance.
Grand!
Be late. Make everyone wait. And be grand Grateful they did. Peeps be rubbernecking, staring gormlessly like deer in your 50,000 intelligent LED headlights. Grand! Make a grand entrance in the new Opel Grandland, designed and made in Germany. Achtung, baby.
Grand!
It's even got massage seats.
Uber grand!
Visit opel.co.za for more.
702.
What's the question?
For 2,000 Rand in cash, thanks to OUTsurance, please tell me what's the question if the answer is 42. Let's go to Kevin in Roodepoort. Kevin, what's the question?
Hi there, Bongani. It's all these Chris Hemsworth turning today.
Yes, indeed. Chris Hemsworth is turning 42 years old today. You'll know him, of course, as the wielder of that hammer of Thor in those Marvel Universe movies. Tell me, Kevin, have you got yourself a quote from OUTsurance?
I'm a member of OUTsurance.
You're a member of OUTsurance. Goodness, look at you. How about 2,000 Rand in cash? Coming your way.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's a good way to start a week, right?
Yes.
That's the right way to start a week. Kevin in Roodepoort winning 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to OUTsurance and 702. Now, news just in. Pinky, a 60-year-old woman, slashed 870 Rand a month of her car insurance premium. That's right. She switched to OUTsurance and now saves a mind-blowing 870 Rand a month on her 2020 Kia Seltos 1.6. OUTsurance clients always get something out. Get a quote today and see how much OUTsurance could save you on your car insurance. Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and information online.
My family's struggling with snotty noses and phlegmy coughs.
Oh no! Have you tried ACC?
ACC 600 is a convenient one-a-day effervescent tablet from 14 years of age. Or now also in a no-water-needed, fruity-flavored sherbet-like granules that dissolve in your mouth. Ideal for the on-the-go adult. Ask for ACC 600 effervescent or oral powder at your nearest pharmacy to get rid of the snotties and flemmings. And trust, if it doesn't say ACC, it's not ACC.
You know what gets my attention? A man who drives the M-Zoom R-Style. Bold, confident, like he knows exactly what he's doing. That matte finish, that attitude, it's giving text me when you get there. And now he's smart too. He just saved 50,000 rands. Promo price, only 439,900 rands. At that price, I might just text first. So, are you getting the R-Style or must I keep swiping left? GAC Motor, where craft meets technology. T's and C's apply.
The team's on a roll today. Let me focus on payroll. Duty calls in the kitchen. That's why I have a business insurer that is agile and on the ball all the time on all things. I chose My Way Business Insurance, getting 24/7 emergency service and saving on my premiums, plus my business assist to handle my admin.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
I thought your newspaper headline on gambling was interesting. I've just noticed in the last 6 months or so, traveling around Johannesburg and traveling to and from work, that the number of billboards advertising gambling sites is just overwhelming. It's every second huge billboard across the highway is advertising gambling. And I just wonder, we don't advertise other addictive things like smoking, and just wondering if we really need to look at how we advertise gambling in the light of such major addiction problems.
We're talking, of course, if you've just joined us in our newspaper segment, The Citizen is running with the high stakes of gambling as a story on its front page. While online betting has more people placing bets than before, more players are now seeking help as addiction referrals rise 40%. And they're also talking about the billions spent on advertising to promote gambling in South Africa. And one body is warning of the social and mental risks of addiction.
702.
702. What's gone viral?
With Kabazela.
Time now for the world of viral content. Kabazela.
Good morning to you, Belle.
How to call in sick. Now, to be clear, she's not encouraging people to lie. She's just saying this is how you do it properly.
Yeah, so she's a career, sort of counselor. She's a lawyer as well. So if you think about it in your career, whether it's Prime Media, wherever you've worked, and you've had to call in when you are feeling ill, 9 times out of 10, I would feel like I have this guilt that, I've got phone in now and say I'm sick. I hope they believe me, all this kind of stuff. It's weird. It's that we have to go through these things when we're sick. And this is why she's obviously come up with this, just to kind of help or allay people's fears or anxiety when it comes to it. Bizarre. So let's take a listen to how she says you should call your boss.
Let's practice calling in sick together, shall we? I'll say the script and you're going to practice along with me. Hi Joe, it's Laura. I'm not well today and I won't be coming in. I'll give you an update this afternoon when I know how tomorrow's looking. Thank you so much. That's it.
That's it. So, number one, who phones? I just send a text.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Clive, Alistair. This is the story. But, there's a lot of people who have bosses that will then pry and they'll be like, oh, what's wrong? Can't you just come in for a couple of hours? Or, really, we need you today. But if you're sick, you're sick, and don't come in. And often you'll find people who are sick come into the office because they are scared or whatever it may be to tell the boss that they are not feeling well. So it's an interesting one I wanted to put out there to our 702 family this morning and say, when you are sick, do you have these fears? Do you call? Do you WhatsApp? And what are some of the stories that you have when you are ill that your boss has given you? Like, really, we need you today, or just come in for an hour or two and then go home. Let's hear those stories. Or do you have a really amazing boss who just says, "Yeah, health first. Take care of yourself. Let us know how the week goes."
Yeah, how difficult is it for you to call in sick? Are you one of those who almost has to be dragged out of the building, via a stretcher because you just don't have it in you to call in sick and say something's wrong? How do you craft those conversations? All right, let's talk now about accidents. This one with a happy ending.
This is a really nice exchange. So if you've had an accident, maybe you have experienced, maybe not so nice people on the other side of the accident, so to speak. So this happened between, I think it was I don't know if he was on a motorbike or a bicycle, but he ended up hitting into some person's car and they had an accident. But listen to how this one lady is. She's so concerned and she's so kind. Take a listen here.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I've got a bit of a headache now.
No, don't worry. I've got grandpa. Just to give I've got grandpa in my bag.
No, I can't drink that. I can't drink coke. I wear a bag, you see.
Don't you want to go to a clinic or
No,
something?
please, you guys don't worry about me.
Okay.
I'm just happy you got decent people.
No,
you
no,
know?
hit your head.
No. All right.
You didn't hit your head.
I don't know what I hit, Mom.
That's why we've got cars. That's why we've got insurance.
Yeah.
As long as your life, we can't replace a life. This we can
you guys
replace.
can have your car fixed, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Because I don't have insurance.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I can use that. Thank you.
Where are you off to?
To work, actually.
Where?
In Hamilton.
Are you still going to be able to drive the bike?
Yes.
Don't you want to call your boss to come and get you?
Well, if it doesn't want to start saying my boss will come help me, don't worry.
Okay. But don't you want to, do you have to,
I work for good people. It's not a
don't you want to call them?
I've got a phone.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right.
Right?
So really nice, right? And I think if you are if you have been in an accident, you can meet all kinds of people. Some that could be aggressive, like, "What are you doing? Why'd you drive into me?" Concerned, and it depends on what's happened, right? The severity of it, if there's injuries or whatever it may be. So let's hear those this morning. If you have had a bumper bashing, so to speak, where there's no injuries, nobody's hurt, what has been the exchange between you and the other person? Has it been quite cordial, or has it been one of aggression, perhaps?
Yeah, I remember being in an accident in 2022, and the guy had hit me from behind, and he was in hysterics. He was crying. He could hardly breathe, and his worry was that he didn't actually have insurance, and how was this now all of this going to work? So I completely understand you being in the position where you almost now have to be the nice one, calming down the person that you think caused the accident, as it were. How have your experiences been in an accident? The reaction of the other driver, yourself? caring, apologetic, or aggressive? That's what's gone viral with Kabazela.
702.
702. Feedback.
With Siamtanda Matiso.
Siamtanda Matiso in the hot seat. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have you recovered from your birthday weekend?
I have.
Did all the things?
I just realized that there's no escaping this team. We were all together on Saturday at the women's celebration. We were all having fun though, because we are friends also besides being colleagues. So it was really, really fun.
So how easy is it for you to call in sick?
It is easier because I have great bosses. I just feel guilty because as producers, having to find someone, especially in the mornings, it's difficult because we work in a particular way.
Yeah.
So to have to teach and all of that stuff. So that's the part where I always feel bad. But other than that, no, my bosses, I don't have to over-explain myself is where...
And give lots of unnecessary information. All right, feedback from the listeners. What's everyone saying?
Great week ahead for us. As you remember, Bongs, last month we had a Whiz Quiz winner. So we're meeting him this Thursday. Can't wait to give him his check. Also, lots of reactions to your 10 to 7 interview with Vincent Magwenya on the National Dialogue. Listen, Bongs, many of our listeners are frustrated. They're saying this is like money that's going to be wasted here could be used on something else, like resolving our issues. How many discussions do we have to have? We've been having imbizos, we've been having national dialogues. It's time for us now to resolve these issues that we're dealing with.
I don't know if you noticed, and I always think being a spokesperson is just such a difficult job. So Vincent Magwenya couldn't or wouldn't confirm what the actual price tag was.
Yes.
He then mentioned that the initial amount that was bandied about by some of these foundations that have now pulled out was up to 800 million rand, which he said the president insisted ought to be lowered. I then asked him, okay, so what did he want it to be lowered to as a minimum? He then couldn't say, no, the president didn't have a ceiling beyond which he will not pay as the government. And that's why we were asking that question a little earlier on, by the way, about the purse and power in relationships. Clearly, government controls the purse for this thing, and they will decide how much of it they will spend. Hence, these foundations are pulling out because they're saying, even though you have the money, we want to be the ones driving this process and leading this process. And Vincent Magwenya says, who's their constituency anyway?
Yeah, we still need to review.
Right? No, he also, because I said, without these powerful civil society voices, is this going to be really a people's dialogue? He says, they don't have, who's their constituency anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't say it quite as roughly as that, but that was the essence.
Yeah, and lastly, Bongs, we received a call from actor and chairman of the South African Guild of Actors, Jack Dev Naran, our friend of a show, and he's told us that their actors are having a protest this morning at the Union Building. They are delivering their memorandum, and the protest is them requesting for protection under labor laws. So that's why they're protesting this moment. They're very tired of the things that they're dealing with.
It may be a conversation for us to have with Jack coming up, because of course he and I have spoken about the state of actors in South Africa. Talking of actors, guess whose birthday it is today? Viola Davis. Yes,
Queen.
Indeed. She is turning all of 60 years old. There's a fascinating story she spoke about on the Jennifer Hudson show, where she spoke about being pulled over for driving without her lights on and how she got away with it. We'll play you that clip.
This is why I can't be a cop. I'll be so starstruck. Imagine.
I think in her case, they probably were too. All right, it's 8 o'clock. We'll also be up next speaking to a hard Cosatu man. This is somebody who has been a political commentator, but also a strategist. Very, very deep roots in the tripartite alliance. He's the biographer for Kgalema Motlanthe. And he says if Joburg wants to get it right, they better think long and hard and give Helen Zille a shot.
This is EWN.
The Daily Maverick links a prominent businessman to the scandal that's engulfed the IDT, and Legacy Foundations explain why they withdrew from preparing for the national dialogue. Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Daily Maverick has published the latest installment of an investigation into the suspended CEO of the Independent Development Trust, this time linking her to prominent businessman Colin Mashwana. The publication says the Gauteng businessman made at least 2 payments towards an upmarket property currently being built for Tebogo Malaka. This while his non-profit foundation secured a 60 million rand contract from the IDT to run employment schemes. Daily Maverick is also reporting that to date, the IDT has transferred at least 23 million rand to the Colin Mashwana Foundation. Most of these funds should have gone to the foundation's EPWP workers, and however, Daily Maverick says it has established that hundreds of EPWP participants did not receive their hard-earned salaries. Investigative reporter Peter Louis Myberg spoke to Anele and the club on 947 this morning.
The timeline is pretty tight if you look at it, as a whole. The contract is awarded in mid last year, in 2024. But shortly before the IDT actually awards what is by far the biggest chunk of this EPWP spend, Colin Mashwana pays 100,000 Rand, roughly 100,000 Rand, towards Malaka's property development. So there's first that payment, and then very soon after that, Mashwana is appointed by the IDT to do by far the most lucrative part of that EPWP work.
Myberg says Malaka did not respond to questions about the money in question, while Mashwana told him to take any evidence he has to the authorities. Legacy foundations, which have pulled out of the first leg of the national dialogue, insist it wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. The foundations, which formed part of the preparation task team, opted not to participate in this week's first convention of the dialogue. They flagged concerns over procurement and constraints due to the delayed release of funds. But President Cyril Ramaphosa decided to push on with the event with his office, saying the budget will depend on in-kind contributions, donations and other resources. Attempts to mediate between government and the PTT have been unsuccessful, and its deputy chairperson, Lindiwe Gard, who also represented the Chief Albert Luthuli Foundation, says issues raised were mostly about logistics.
But coming out of that mediated process, it became clear that there are intractable differences from the foundations who have subsequently withdrawn and the colleagues on the other side, particularly those colleagues from government and the colleagues from Netherlands, to a lesser extent.
Police are searching for people behind the murders of 3 officers in Gauteng and Mpumalanga. 2 cops were shot on Friday while transporting Jabulani Moyo back to prison following his court appearance at the Roodepoort Magistrates Court. Moyo escaped from custody after the attack and was last seen driving the police vehicle, which was later found abandoned. A sergeant in Mpumalanga was murdered while responding to a business burglary in Skumansdal over the weekend. Acting Police Minister Feroz Kichalia visited the bereaved families and condemned the targeting of police officers.
Support for the family and making the funeral arrangements and for all the consequences that follow a murder of a police officer are in the responsibility of the Provincial Commissioner, and he's assured me that all of that is being taken, and the family, all of that is being taken care of.
And Australia says it will recognize a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly in September, following similar moves by the UK, France and Canada. Israel, under increasing pressure to end the war in Gaza, has said recognizing a Palestinian state rewards terrorism. Since Saturday, 5 people have died because of starvation and malnutrition in Gaza, bringing the total number to 217. 5 Al Jazeera journalists were also killed by an Israeli targeted strike near Gaza City's Al-Shifa hospital. More than 61,000 people have been killed as a result of Israel's military campaign since 2023. Israel launched its offensive in response to the Hamas-led attack on 7 October that year, in which about 1,200 people were killed and more than 250 others were taken hostage. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority. We will work with the international community to make this right a reality.
Gold is trading at $3,377.26 an ounce. The rand is at 17.72 to the dollar, 23.86 to the pound, 20.68 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $66.28 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we still have got heavy delays in Centurion on the N14 east towards the Brockfontein interchange due to a major accident. Please be on the lookout there. While traveling in Randbeck, we've got another accident reported on Republic Road right at Kent Avenue, causing heavy delays. Please drive with care.
And in your sport, the Rugby Championship build-up begins with the Springboks set to announce their squad for the Wallabies test today. Siwelele top the Betway Premiership after the opening weekend, and Grant Forrest gets a special video call after Scottish Championship victory.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The Daily Maverick has published the latest installment of an investigation into the suspended CEO of the Independent Development Trust, this time linking her to a prominent businessman, Colin Mashwana.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Gauteng's greatest awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Your favorite local business could be a Gauteng legend. Nominate them now on primemediaplus.com.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
7 minutes after 8 o'clock. Welcome to the show. If you're just tuning in for the first time, it's the start of a brand new week. It's the 11th of August, the year of our Lord 2025. The Daily Maverick now publishing another installment. They've been looking at the suspended CEO of the Independent Development Trust. You remember, of course, she came out guns firing towards the end of the week, saying that video, that sting operation, was a setup. What your problem is, Luna, Muteo, Amo, you're going after the black woman. That's your problem. Cheeky journalists writing exposés. She said she was set up. That thing won't stand in court. And in any case, it wasn't her who was speaking most of the time. It was the spokesperson.
Who withdrew the money?
Well, now they're saying they are linking a house, a property being built for Tebogo Malaka, and they're linking this to a prominent businessman. His name is Colin Mashwana. And now they're saying the entity that she's the CEO of had transferred at least 23 million rand to this businessman's foundation. Guys, are we in the wrong job?
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Told you it's the 60th birthday of the fantastic actor Viola Davis. We were talking, of course, about her appearance on the Jennifer Hudson show last month, and she says she once got into trouble for driving without putting her lights on, and this is how she got away with it.
I am the crappiest driver.
Really? Oh.
I am. My car has so many dings in it just from getting out of my garage.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, I've been stopped by the popo for not turning my lights on. I got out of that one, though, because he said, "Oh, what are you doing in Rhode Island?" I was back in Rhode Island. And I said, "I'm visiting my mom, and I'm an actress." I put that one in there because I'm terrified of the police. I'm terrified of going to jail. So I said, "I'm an actress." He was like, "Yeah, what have we seen you in?" Now, this is humbling. I said, "How to Get Away with Murder." And he was like, "I never heard of that. Give me your license." And so then I gave him the license, and he went back. Oh, boy, I was sweating. He took the longest time, and he came back. He said, "Were you in Suicide Squad?" Yeah. I said, yeah. That was me. That was me. That was me.
How she got away with it. Now, of course, American actors are well represented as far as being part of the labor force in that country. We spoke, I think in April it was, with Jack Devnarayan, who is, of course, the former Isidingo actor. What was his character there? Rajesh Kumar, right? He is now, of course, a big voice in the South African Actors Guild, and today they're going to be holding a march. He phoned in a little earlier on and said that to our producers and has sent us this voice note.
Hi, this is Jack Devnarayan from the South African Guild of Actors. We had a wonderful response in our interview that we had with Bongani on the 4th of April earlier this year, talking about the state of the acting industry. And I'm very happy to update you with our news that Saga will be holding a demonstration at the Union Buildings this morning from 10. We'll be appealing for support from government so that we have labor protection and we have collective bargaining rights so that we can secure fair contracts. We need the kind of protection that our counterparts from around the world have. Also, the fact that our constitutional rights to fair labor practice and the rights to unionize have never been recognized in this country. And we'll be putting all this down in a memorandum and delivering it to the Department of Employment and Labor. We're very happy also that standing in solidarity with us are representatives from the International Federation of Actors, as well as representatives from ACTRA, which is the Canadian Actors Union, and SAG-AFTRA, which is the American Actors Union, the biggest actors union in the world.
Well, we'll obviously keep an eye on that protest for the actors. That's all coming up a little later.
Let's talk.
We're listening.
Hey, morning, Bongs. I just sent a text and say I'm not feeling well. Not coming in today. Finish it. My partner, she always feels guilty. And I'm like, dude, we are sick. But she always feels guilty. I'm like, dude, when you die, those people are going to replace you. They're going to replace you the next day or the next month. Just take sick leave, dude. You're sick.
Morning, Bongani and Kabazela. So I have been to work even when I'm sick because I work at the university. So when I have a test, for example, it just becomes dramatic to get someone to come in and invigilate. So I would still go in, give the test, and maybe go back home. The following day, I would still go in, give the lecture, and tell the students, ma'am is sick. If ma'am collapses, you call for help. And yeah, it's not the process, it's just the nature of the job. Charlotte in Rutherford, great show, thank you.
Hi, good morning. How's everybody? Well, I am right now sick and I'm just gathering my strength to go to work. So I had times where I told my boss I'm sick and I'm not able to come. So he was like, okay, but there were times then, oh, you have to come, I need you. There's nobody there beside you, you have to come. And it's very challenging, and lately we're having new recruits and things are gone a bit hectic. So I have to go in to see what's the scenario, and this is my decision that I will say, okay, give me the work that was done over the Saturday, which I don't work, and I'm going to do my work and I'll say, okay, thank you. I have filled in a couple of hours and I need to go to the doctor because my health comes first, and after I visit the doctor, let's see how it goes and I'll give you a call or I'll message you. That's what I'm intending to do. So let's see how it goes. That's my story. Bye.
Actually, my previous employer was the best. She wasn't really fussy. If you start coughing once or twice, she'll tell you to go home. And I remember even this one time, she even allowed me to take a few days off, like 2 days after I got into a heartbreak of a 4-year relationship. I was hysterical, and then she told me, no, just take a few days off and come back stronger. I've never ever met a boss like her ever since.
One of the first things that shocked me when I started working at Carte Blanche was how we were told if you insisted on coming to work sick, you would get a written warning. because we were a very small team in the office. And obviously, if you're going to spread, if you're an incubus of viral plague, then you're going to make everybody in the office sick. And I remember thinking, oh, what stunning commitment, right? How easily do you make that call, Mutel?
Depends. If I'm sick on a Sunday, I'm going to be definitely guilty. Sick on a Friday, feel guilty. If it's a Wednesday, then I'll call in, guys, I'm sick, I can't come in. But because you imagine, like, your
what
team,
people are thinking.
Yeah, like, this one, Papa Nazle. It's like...
And Babalas, can we say, is its own kind of sickness.
It needs a sick note.
I know this sounds very off, but I get so happy when I get sick in the afternoon, because the worst for the times that we work on, the worst is to get sick the moment you get up off bed. Because who do you call at that time? There's no time to find a replacement. There's no time to even find your manager to say, hey, I can't make it to work today.
That makes sense.
So when I'm sick in the afternoon, I'm just like, oh, thank goodness I can now phone and say, I don't think I'm going to make it tomorrow.
Yeah, I always feel better if at least I've pushed through one show. Then they've seen me struggle. You know what I mean? Then they know.
You want to come die here. Stay home.
EWN Traffic.
17 after 8, this Eyewitness News Traffic brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702.
Well, we've got delays in Randburg Bongani on Jan Smuts Avenue right at Kent due to a major accident scene, and these delays are piling up all the way towards Republic Road, so please be on the lookout if you're traveling around this area. While on the Mike 1 North, we still have got peak time delays between Boyson's Road and Carr Street. There's also queuing traffic in the city of Tshwane, the N1 South between the Flying Saucer Interchange and Rigel Avenue. While traveling on the N14 East, that accident in Centurion is still there. It's causing delays coming out of the R55. I'll have more details coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that this Women's Month, every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a multitasking mom, rocking her girl boss outfit over her supermom cape. There's a sister, a princess, a trailblazer, and a leader. The Outsurance pointsmen know they're not just cars in traffic, they are game changers on the move. Happy Women's Month. You are part of the reason why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005. In proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
18 after 8, on to this now. Johannesburg, if you're a resident, you'll know, is a blighted city. Potholes like craters, traffic lights that often don't work, causing congestion. I mean, we've even seen raw sewage running down streets in some places. The shacks in the sky from the scourge of hijacked buildings. And that's something that's become so entrenched in Johannesburg. But the question is, do we need a savior? Political analyst Ibrahim Harvey reckons Helen Zille might just be the person to give Johannesburg a shot at a comeback. Now, for context, this is somebody whose politics have been very much on the left all his life. He's a former COSATU trade unionist, an activist, strategist. He was also Kgalema Motlante's biographer, and he says change must come. Dr. Harvey, a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning. Thanks for the opportunity, and good to be with you.
I first spoke to you some years ago, just after you had written the book on former President Kgalema Motlanthe. Your credentials, if you will, on the left are well known. But now you say, in fact, it's not just Johannesburg, but all of South Africa that is facing what you're describing as the biggest infrastructure crisis since apartheid. But in Johannesburg, it's particularly acute, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, you see, the way you've begun is to, a question, and perhaps it's a valid question, that given my leftist history and background for 4 or 5 decades, why would I support Helen Zille from the DA, a sort of centrist, reformist political party? There's a lot of good reason for it. Firstly, as I've stressed in the Sunday Times article, Joburg is like with the rest of the country, except for Cape Town. It's very important for you to note the difference, except for Cape Town. I have actually relocated to Cape Town in February this year. The country is in a very, very serious structural, systemic crisis. And I think the worst expressions of that, and the symptoms of it, can be seen in the black townships, even much more than you'll see in the CBD and the formerly white suburbia. And Helen Zille, I can recall my interview with her when I did Motlantis. A very formidable, very confident person to me, honestly. And when you make such an objective assessment, I think objective, you've got to be non-racial, anti-racist in your views. And I really think, and I believe it, that she's probably the most formidable, confident person. I think there are some journalists I know who even shudder to think when they need to interview her. You must watch her on TV, especially, very good, solid, and confident and assertive. And I think you need that time in Joburg. You must remember my master's. I'm a historian of the city of Joburg. I know it very well. My PhD is a case study, 200 households in Piri Soweto, what prepaid meters did to them. So, it's from that kind of experience and exposure, that I penned this piece. And I knew that there will be a comeback, kind of response from people that may be surprised, given my history, that I would back Zille. But I think really it's so bad in Joburg. I don't know if it's maybe even too late to arrest the decline. It's a terrific, terrible decline, honestly, that's going. It's never happened.
Harvey, I've got to come in here. I've got to come in here. So for me, it was important to mention your leftist credentials, because you're not just anyone saying, let's support Helen Zille. And I thought that contrast needed to be clear. But you mentioned that, in fact, most of the troubles are in the black areas, the townships, the poverty-stricken areas. People who will not support Helen Zille for mayor for Johannesburg will say, well, hang on, how much better is Khayelitsha or Gugulethu, for example? Those areas in Cape Town, they're just as bad as they ever were.
No. I think if you must compare them to this white suburbia, and I've exposed that many times, that indeed there's a legitimacy to the grievance of black people in Cape Town, that white suburbia tends to be prioritized, in service delivery, and a considerable neglect of the black so-called African areas, including the so-called colored areas. But if you compare, however, Khayelitsha and Gugulethu with what is happening in the rest of the country, in other so-called black African areas in particular, then it is better. I can tell you it's better, and there's no doubt. You see, it's my view, and I deal with it in the 2021 Great Pretenders, Race and Class under Rule. I deal with this. There is a link. You might not want to accept it, but there is a historical link between competency, skills, and race, color, and ethnicity in this country. I don't think it's by accident that the best performing municipality in this country, and you can go and check it out, has been the Cape Town since 2006.
Hold on, just explain what you mean when you say there's a link between competency and efficiency and race in this country. What do you mean by that?
I mean by that simply that renewable sector most advanced in this country, in Cape Town.
Sorry, I'm going to have to ask you. Sorry, Dr. Harvey, we lost you for a second. We lost our connection there for a second. I want to be clear. Understand what do you mean?
No, I'm saying there's no doubt to my mind that there's a connection, a historical connection between race, class, and ethnicity, and skills and competencies. You can see it in the government. You can see it from 1994. The Ready to Govern document of 1992 of the ANC has proven to be absolutely an unmitigated lie and distortion. We're in the biggest crisis today in the history of this country. And not just post-apartheid history, my friend. It's from the 1910 when the Union of South Africa was formed. We had the biggest crisis. Everything has collapsed in this country. We are broke. 2 to 3 trillion rand and more has been stolen from the public fiscus. This is the state we are in at the moment. And I'm saying
and the link,
that Helen
the
Zille,
historical link, I would imagine, are you saying what, better education, historically,
yes,
better opportunities?
Obviously, it's all that. Absolutely no doubt about it whatsoever. And the legacy that we're dealing with, bound education, inferior, and you can see what has happened to this country. It's no doubt. I mean, you can also ask yourself, what has happened to the Freedom Charter? Where is the RDP? The ANC doesn't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even talk about building a better life. Remember that was their rallying slogan in
Better
elections.
life, yeah, better life
You don't
for
hear
all.
it anymore.
Now, I hear you, Dr. Ibrahim Harvey, political analyst, long-time trade unionist. Some really strong words there for the ANC. Are you convinced by the arguments he's making, particularly the historical links between race, class, and competence and efficiency? Did I get that right?
702, The World View.
With Adam Gilchrist.
Far less emotional will be Adam Gilchrist talking to us from the UK, but no less explosive is the issue you are dealing with. Beaches, 3 people blown up swimming in the Ukraine.
Yeah, you can imagine a lovely summer's day, off to the beach we go, have a good splash, and 2 men and a woman were killed when they did exactly this in Odessa or near Odessa, which is one of those cities that's been often mentioned in the last 3.5 years of war. A local official confirmed that these 3 had been killed by sea mines at beaches close to Zatoka. So this is a Black Sea resort area, very popular as a holiday destination in Ukraine. Once upon a time, Russians used to go there as well, and other Europeans too. But since the Russian invasion, there have been a lot of mines laid, and although nobody's actually fronted up at this stage, it's thought these were probably Ukrainian sea mines trying to keep Russian ships away, possibly Russian sea mines, because they've also been mining like crazy. But what a terrible way to go. Into the surf and then splash, boom. 3 of them paying as collateral damage of the war, but essentially 3 innocent lives lost again from this 42-month war in the most unusual way. And don't you think that somehow it ought to be safe swimming in the beach a long way from the fighting? But no, apparently not.
Fatalities in a boxing event in Japan.
Now, this always resonates, doesn't it, when there's a boxing death, about how safe the sport is, and all the boxing associations and federations begin to look at themselves, and rightly so, probably. In this case, we have 2 Japanese boxers dying. They were on the same card at an event in Tokyo. Hiromasaru Urakawa, he died a day after Shigetoshi Katari. So both of them had been on the same fight bill in different fights. Both of them underwent surgery for subdural hematoma, a condition where blood collects on the brain, between the skull and the brain. Both of them basically perished in this way after taking fatal knockout blows and also the punches beforehand. So Japan's boxing commission has already announced that they will investigate and they'll have a look at it. But they've also immediately announced that all bouts under their auspices, so that's all Oriental and Pacific Boxing Federation fights, will now be 10 rounds instead of 12. The problem with that is that Hiromasa Urakawa died after being beaten in the 8th round. But still, I guess you get the idea that shorter fights, would they be safer? Does that do it for people who are critical of the sport?
Goodness me, what a way. Adam Gilchrist with this morning's Worldview.
EWN Business.
Oil prices dropping ahead of, I suppose, another punch-up of a different kind. Muteo Haripe, US-Russia meeting about Ukraine war.
Yeah, that meeting on Friday, moving oil prices. Oil prices are kept low this morning, extending a drop of more than 4% that we saw last week as investors await the outcome of talks between the US and Russia later this week on the war in Ukraine. Now, Brent crude futures fell by 33 cents to $66.26 a barrel, while the US West Texas Intermediate oil price was down 39 cents. Now, expectations have risen for a potential end to sanctions that have limited the supply of Russian oil to international markets. This after US President Donald Trump said that he would meet Russian President Vladimir Putin on the 15th of August in Alaska to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. The talks follow increased US pressure on Russia, raising the prospect that penalties on Moscow could also be tightened if a peace deal is not reached. Now, in June 2025, that is, Russia exported 24.8 million tons of oil by sea, a 5% drop in their production.
How well has Edward Kieswetter done as SARS Commissioner, Muteo?
I think he's done really well. I mean, in getting a lot of revenue for the fiscus. In fact, in some years, record revenues, and we've seen him bring some more technologies to SARS. But he's saying he's stepping down by the end of May next year. In an internal email to SARS staff, Kieswetter said his 2-year contract extension has come to an end. He was speaking with Finance Minister Inoko Dongwana and the President Ramaphosa on how best to handle the transition of leadership at SARS. Kieswetter was first appointed to head the Revenue Service in 2019, given a mandate to rebuild the tax authority and improve collections for the fiscus.
Where's the rand?
17 Rand 70 against the US dollar, stronger this morning at 20 Rand 66 cents against the euro and at 23 Rand 85 cents against the British pound. Price of gold slightly lower this morning at $3,373 an ounce, while platinum is at $1,323. Brent crude at $66.20 a barrel. That's your business this morning. Stephen Grotes with more this afternoon.
Don't play politics with me. To politicians? Sfisa Zulu, explain.
Well, Bongani, good morning. Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwahube has appealed to politicians not to use the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill as a political football. The chairperson of Parliament's Portfolio Committee, Joy Maimela, this weekend said that the committee was unhappy that only 2 draft regulations from the Act were gazetted by Gwahube last week. Maimela claims the regulations contradict Parliament's intention to transform the education sector. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
The new Act makes Grade R compulsory and regulates the admission and language policies of schools. But Parliament Committee Chairperson Joy Maimela says Minister Siviwe Gwahube was expected to gazette all the regulations to the Act in one go and not in a piecemeal fashion. Maimela says it also appears the regulations on school admissions are contrary to the Act's intentions and will once again exclude disadvantaged learners based on location. But Gwahube says the regulations were carefully considered and drafted by a group of experts.
There are still leaders in the country who are hell-bent on politicizing this piece of legislation, a piece of legislation that is going to help us bring coherence in the schooling system and in our education system.
Maimela says Gwahube can expect robust engagement with the committee on these regulations. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News.
After months of delays and a National Executive Committee in shambles, Andile Lungisa has emerged as the lone voice calling for the ANC Supreme Body to be disbanded. EWN understands Lungisa, who is part of the NEC, stood up to make the call during last week's meeting. He suggested former President Thabo Mbeki should take over the reins as convener, while former ANC Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe should become the coordinator. Tsidi Madia reports.
Andile Lungisa has seemingly brought back calls for this NEC to be disbanded. Similar suggestions were made following a bruising performance in the 2024 elections. EWN understands Lungisa told the party's highest decision-making body in between conferences it's failed, criticizing its inability to hold timely NEC meetings, not bothering to gather even in the midst of the budget crisis. He's believed to have said this NEC not only brought the ANC to 40% in the last elections, but has no concrete plans to change its luck next year. He's also hit out at his party over its lack of documents or positions to counter the country's failing economy and rising unemployment, instead accusing the ANC of allowing private interests to take over SOEs. Some NEC members have echoed his sentiments, telling EWN the NEC is not even showing signs of readiness for its upcoming National General Council, let alone this week's national dialogue, which it endorsed. Lungisa could not be reached for comment. Tsidi Madia, Eyewitness News.
And Gauteng's Economic Development and Finance MEC Lebogang Maile says the province has cemented its status as the most visited in the country and the continent's most globally connected tourism gateway. Maile was speaking during a departmental performance update yesterday, where he revealed that during the 2024-2025 financial year, Gauteng welcomed 3.8 million international visitors. Maile also highlighted the economic boost for local businesses, with small, medium and micro enterprises earning 19 million rand in the same period.
Foreign direct spend or international tourism revenue contribution also rose to a whopping 41 billion rands. smashing our target of 29 billion decisively. This growth was not accidental. It is a product of targeted strategic investment in increased airlift capacity.
A fine day in store for Gauteng. The temperatures will peak at highs between 20 and 21 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the N12 and the R24 West between Edenville Road and the Kidulis interchange, while traveling on the N3 North, bumper-to-bumper delays between the Yelans interchange and the Kidulis interchange.
The top story this hour, Siviwe Gwahube has appealed to politicians not to use the Bella Bill as a political football.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for plumbers, electricians, and other tradesmen. Pumlani.
Switching to Outsurance was one of the best decisions that we've ever made. We needed business cover, over 15 million. Outsurance came forth for us. At Kani, we sleep better at night, knowing that we always get something out of Outsurance.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Did you ever work in the UK? If you did for at least 3 years and you're under 67, you can get a guaranteed UK state pension worth up to 5 million rand over a typical retirement for just a small payment directly to UK revenue. Most people get 40 rand back for every rand they pay in. There's a big queue at UK revenue as this opportunity may end soon, so act fast. Call Extra Pension in Cape Town or see extrapension.com. Mind your UK pension and it'll mind you. Service fees apply.
It all starts with FNB Private. With secure, easy payments for a hassle-free overseas holiday. Tap, swipe, or go digital with your FNB Visa cards. Earn rewards when using your FNB credit card or global account debit and virtual card. You can even fund your global account on the FNB app while traveling. Make the most of every moment. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. TCs earn rules and limits apply.
Franchise your future with a vision to invest, the mindset to follow a proven system, and the drive to grow something of your own. Meet the minds behind smart investments and proven franchise success on Franchise Your Future with Relebogile Mabotja, brought to you by Cash Converters on 702. Plus, you could win 10,000 Rand to kickstart your journey to franchise your future. Hit primemediaplus.com now. Then every Tuesday from 1 p.m. you can catch Franchise Your Future on afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja. Brought to you by Cash Converters. Your money, your momentum. On 702, let's walk the talk.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Hi Bongani. So mine is not so much hitting another car with my car, but I closed a gate on a brand new Audi. Bongani, I walked out of my car and this man was huge. You know, he looked at me and he said, "It's okay." And then I went back to my car. Then the next thing I hear people saying, when he related the story, he was like, "Yo." I was so angry. Then this tiny little person walked out and I was defeated. And I just said, "It's okay." Thank you. Bye.
So I had a very horrible experience with someone hitting me. I was taking my son to school in the morning and this person hit me at the back. They were nice about it. They were kind about it. And then they said they'll help me fix my car, but they said that because it was a work car, they would have preferred that, the work doesn't know. I supported them thinking, I'm helping a guy out. I don't want him to get into trouble at work. And eventually he ghosted me.
Whoa. Gosh. Gabriel Shai on X says, driving my Quantum van to a gig, I got rear-ended and the van rolled. It's the seatbelt that saved me. I'm fine. Then thieves stole my spare tire, my GPS, sunglasses. I called the venue and the agent, no gig. I was towed near home and checked in at Medicross. Ran into the venue boss at dinner. Awkward. Car, I'm not quite sure what it means by cars totaled. But anyway, that was a wild day for him. We're talking about having a car accident. What was the reaction of the other driver? Were they civil? Were they aggressive? Did they let you go? Or, did you almost come to blows?
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, very good morning to you.
Morning.
Do you battle to call in sick when you're feeling unwell? You feel guilt about it? You think, oh gosh, it's a Monday morning no, let me just go if I'm sick anyway.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm sort of the guilt-ridden individual. I will basically have no voice before I will step away and say, hey, I need a break. Yeah. And it's never a good look. Also then, because you have to sort of like perk yourself up when you're coming onto radio. So that can get quite tough. By the time the 3 hours are done, all you want to do is just climb back into bed.
And just collapse.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, we are very pleased that you are not sick and that you do indeed have your voice. Let's start with rugby.
We do start with rugby as the Springboks will announce their match day 23 for the opening round of the Rugby Championship. South Africans will start their title defence against the Wallabies Saturday afternoon at Ellis Park. Well, after 3 rounds of the Currie Cup season, it's the Pumas who are top of the tree thanks to superior points difference compared to the Cheetahs and Boland. While there's 9 beaten side in this year's record losses according to the teams. In cricket, the Proteas began their white ball tour of Australia with a 17-run loss in the opening T20. Kwena Mapaka was a standout performer with the ball as the pacer took 4 for 20, while Ryan Rickleton hit a quick-fire 71. Second encounter is Tuesday. While switching to football, the African Nations Championship will continue for South Africa. They'll head out against Guinea in the second match of their group stage with kickoff at 4 p.m. Following the first weekend of the Betway Premiership season, it's new club Siwelele who are top of the tree. Yesterday, we saw Kaizer Chiefs and Durban City pick up 2-0 wins over Stellenbosch and TS Galaxy respectively. While Saturday, Mamelodi Sundowns had a draw. Orlando Pirates opened with a loss. In England, Dean Henderson was Crystal Palace's hero once again at Wembley as he made 2 crucial saves in the Community Shield shootout to see the FA Cup winners beat Liverpool and lift the trophy for the first time in the club's history. Reds boss Arne Slot is choosing to see the positives from that performance, though.
It was a game where we twice came 1-0 up, 1 goal up, and in my opinion we controlled the game till the moment they scored the 2-2, and then all of a sudden, although we still had one big chance for Mo Salah, but we could have lost it in the end as well. Till that moment of the 2-1, I think there was every reason for me to expect that we would win this game. But after the 2-2, we were maybe lucky that we could go to penalties.
And in golf, Dean Burmester and the Stingers sealed wins at Live Golf Chicago, while elsewhere Grant Forrest won the Scottish Championship at Donald Trump's golf course in Aberdeenshire. The US president video called Forrest to congratulate him.
And he is some player. I look forward to playing with him. In fact, I'll play with him tomorrow if he can get on a plane right now. Won 3 rounds of Breeding Golf. That course is big and strong and tough. And your swing is great, and it's a great honor that you won. Thank you very much. Great honor.
Meanwhile, Justin Rose won the St. Jude Championship via a 3-hole playoff. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
There's a song that goes, "Money can't buy me love." And that's true. But then they told us all you need is love, which anybody with a mortgage will tell you most certainly is not true. Love won't pay your parking tickets or your student loan. It's also needy. It requires effort, availability, constant care, but more importantly, love requires time. And while money can't buy you love, it can certainly free up some of your time. Time to spend on the things you love, with the people you love. And if you're looking, maybe even time to find the one you love. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money, and then money gives you more time to do the things you love. And don't you love that about investing? Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Quantum science has the potential to shape South Africa's next wave of innovation and global competitiveness. So this Wednesday, 702 Drive with John Perlman will be in conversation with Wits University's Professor Andrew Forbes as they unpack the country's quantum strategy and what that might mean for our future. They'll explore the breakthroughs in quantum computing, imaging, and photonics happening at Wits. Don't miss 702 Drive with John Perlman this Wednesday in conversation with Wits University from 3 to 7 p.m. Shining a light on quantum futures. Wits for good on 702.
EWN Traffic.
8:45. Let's wrap up the morning's traffic and the roads. Amo?
Well, Bongani, we've got some delays on the N1 South approaching Olifantsfontein Road, heading towards Midrand. While traveling in the Bedfordview area, an accident on the N3 South. It happened right at the Kilulis interchange. Delays from Edenville Road. The R24 West is also affected. And if you're traveling on the Mike 1 North, do expect delays between Boysons Road and Car Street. I'll have your next traffic update at the top of the hour. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
When you empower a woman, you empower a whole nation. Women have a remarkable way of multiplying whatever is placed in their hands. This August, we're celebrating Women's Month with the theme Building Resilient Economies for All. We reflect and honor the courageous women of 1956 who took a stand against the injustices of the past. We also recognize and celebrate all South African women who continue to lead, build, and inspire across every part of our society, from business and education to peace building and beyond. Yes, there is still much to be done. The pursuit to achieving total gender equality and empowerment will continue until every woman is able to enjoy the benefits of a safe and just society. #Rekaufela Basadi. #Women's Month 2025. A message by the National Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
You are the poster child, the biggest saver we've ever had.
I decided that I would contact our children and let them work out what they could do for me.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, big saving. 2,794 Rand a month.
That's over 33,000 Rand a year.
And it was the easiest switch ever. Real people helping real people get real deals.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Coming up
on the Clement Manyatela Show
on 702.
Well, it was Clement Manyatela's birthday, so we wish him a happy birthday wherever he is on the planet. Sidi, my dear, do you know where he is?
Of
He's
course
not in
I
Joburg.
do.
He's not in Joburg.
He's not in Johannesburg. He's not in the Republic, but he's happy and well and thriving, and we send him all the birthday love.
So you are then in the hot seat this morning, just for today or all week?
No, just for a couple of days. He'll
Just
be
for a
back.
couple of
He'll be
days.
back.
Sometime in the week.
The what's his name?
The money will
Madimecha.
run out.
He'll be back.
The money will run out. All right, as always, you know I'm going to abuse you.
Yes, of course you will.
Of course I must.
Mm.
This national dialogue, I spoke to Vincent Magwenya earlier.
I heard.
And he says, look, these organizations don't represent all of civil society. You know, who's their constituency anyway? Yeah, sure, they come from these illustrious names with big founders, but we are here now. The show goes on. He downplayed the characterization of this moment as in part due to tensions between the current president and former president Thabo Mbeki. He says, I know they haven't even spoken about this.
It's his job, though, to spin and to downplay it, isn't it?
Well, of course.
Fair, yeah.
But the difficulty is when you spin the unspinnable.
And that's the thing. I don't think anyone's convinced by what government is saying in the public domain about the clashes. I think Sunday Times was actually quite spot on that you are dealing with egos. Part of the South African struggle today, if you're paying attention, is we caught in rifts from yesteryear. This one's mad at that one, and then they carry it on, and it plays itself out even in how they want to lead us. So you've got Zuma versus Cyril. Zuma's obsessed with Cyril Ramaphosa. You've got Mbeki, whatever reasons made him really upset with Ramaphosa, festers. It continues to exist. This idea was birthed around the dialogue, is at the doorstep of the former president. I actually found it interesting that he's allowed himself to be embroiled in all of this. He's the same person who wrote a letter to John Steenhuisen saying we are ready. So,
well, hence they're saying they're not withdrawing entirely just from the planning stage. They are withdrawing from the talks about how to have the talks to have the talks.
I must very quickly say that the foundations are also going to great lengths, by the way, to almost place Mbeki out of this mess. But it's very difficult not to, because...
Well, he's the one who brought them in.
Exactly. So they'll protect his name, his legacy, because you don't want that tainted. Part of what I think the back and forth is that there is a legacy aspect of it in this dialogue. So that's also part of the conflict.
So I know there's a media briefing later on today to give some of the details around how the convention, as it is being called, will happen. The convention to talk about the dialogue. So they talk about the talks. How does all of this play out with a public that is frustrated because they say, hang on a minute, we know the realities we face. I said to Vincent Makwenya, we're drowning and you want us to have a meeting to discuss and describe the water. I borrowed a little loosely from As Good
His
As It
response
Gets.
to you was not convincing at all. I heard that question, and I heard his response that they are doing things. It might not be seen, it might not be fast enough, or whatever it is. And I was like, what are you telling us? So that's not convincing. And I think that's what South Africa's problems are. They're saying this money, however little, however much, could be better used elsewhere, and that says a lot about the failure in the trust and the credibility of the process, or even the leaders involved in the process.
They're bringing the figure down from 800 million to a number he can't quite mention.
Yeah.
What's on the show?
Yeah, let's move on. In the open, and I want to talk actually about the dialogue because I'd started the conversation on Friday, so I still have views about the dialogue, so I'll share those. I'll also speak at 10 o'clock on the dialogue. We'll speak to the foundations, hear what they have to say, and get analysis on what does this impasse mean, even for Ramaphosa in his presidency, because this is also happening while an Andile Lungisa in the NEC, who's an NEC member, says, actually, we have failed as an NEC. We must be disbanded, give Mbeki the reins to try and rebuild the ANC. That conversation is also happening in the background. So we'll speak to analysts. And then at 10:35, we'll speak about the sexual harassment policy that's being introduced in the judiciary. At 11 o'clock, it's the Family Matters feature. We'll look at Step Parenting 101. And another thing I want to mention, and I want people to think about it very quickly, in the open line, Floyd Shivambu has confirmed what we all knew he would confirm. He's contesting the elections next year.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Of course he is.
Yep.
You know,
Another party
whether it will booyah or not remains to be seen. Sidi Madia standing in for Clement Manyachela between 9 and 12.
Betway is taking you to dizzying new heights in one of the world's most popular games, Aviator. Place your bets and watch the multiplier climb higher and higher. Pick the right time to cash out and stand to win millions on a single bet. It's all possible from the palm of your hand. Get way more only at Betway. Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
Hi, I'm Dion Free. Winning requires audacity. That's why I joined African Bank and opened a 60-month fixed-term investment account. I'm scoring 12.8% interest at expiry on my investment. How cool is that? You too can join the bank that backs you to grow your money. Pop into a branch near you or visit africanbank.co.za. African Bank. Audacity to believe. African Bank is a licensed financial services and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
7 minutes to 7. You know, of course, we are champions of the arts on this show. And now let's focus on the Joburg City Theatres. You know, sometimes the most powerful stories aren't the ones you shout. They are the ones that are whispers and spaces between longing and reunion. What are we talking about? Well, there's a new moving play at the Joburg Theatre about a daughter, Lindelwa, who chats to birds in hopes that they'll carry messages to her mother working far away as a domestic worker. It's a story too typical and too familiar for many South African. James Ngobo is the artistic director of the Joburg City Theatres and joins us now. Always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Good morning.
Thank you. Are you well?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Great.
Let's talk about Fems Ukulindwa. Is that how I say it?
Yes.
What made you want to bring this to the Johannesburg Theatre?
Well, Bongani, like any other theatre, we are constantly looking for emerging voices, for those young writers creating stories, and those stories, the way that they are produced, they speak to the level of work that we want to exhibit on our stages. And when we do spot something like this production, we definitely open our doors, and because we also see ourselves as an incubator for the next generation of content creators.
The theme of waiting is central here, and even in my description of what the play is about, I mean, that story is all too familiar to many South Africans whose mothers and fathers had to work far away from their own homes whilst raising children of other families.
Yes, I mean, that waiting also, Bongani, speaks to then the consequence of it becomes the erosion of the family structure. Because in the upsets of the people that are supposed to lead the family, then things start really going pear-shaped in families. And so that is why I agree with you that such a theme in works in this country, some people might hear it and go, oh, but that's maybe an old piece, that's a period piece. It's not. People are still having, because we are still have industry that is centralized in 3 big cities in this country, which is Joburg, Durban, and Cape Town. And then people from everywhere in South Africa have a need to leave their cradles to go somewhere where they feel there is bigger promise. And when they do that, they need to do that so they can feed and raise their young. The stuff they leave behind is a gaping hole. And so this piece is written and produced beautifully with that theme as a pivot of the production, but the way that it is delivered also gives you the theatricality. And it's such a beautiful piece of theater that is being staged.
How do you, talk about that staging. How do you give your audience a sense of this great chasm between mother and daughter, one so far away, so unreachable, particularly for the young child who perhaps might feel some sense of dislocation? How do you stage that and give us that impression as we watch?
I think the first thing, one, it starts with what I always say must be a crucial and needed humility from the storyteller. That when you tell a story, you tell it to an audience that are also very privy to that story. So you pull it from the public domain and you reimagine it, and you're telling it to people that are aware of such narrative. And then the only difference is that you then put your voice in it, you put your heart in it, and you put a theatricality that makes a story so familiar to a patron sitting in the theater, and that makes a patron feel like they're receiving the story for the very first time, because it is not just coming in its rawness. There is a theatricality that is part of how the narrative is unfolding. Because even if a story is painful, we still have to know that theater is a space where we need to create a sense of escapism for audiences.
All right, sounds compelling, James Ngobo. Appreciate your time. Ukulindwa is on at the Joburg Theatre starting the 14th of August this Friday, and you can book now. They can get the tickets at the box office or where else, James?
Thank you. Box office, or you could come to the theatre to buy the ticket.
All right, that is the theatre box office then. That's where you get the tickets. The Artistic Director of Joburg City Theatres, James Ngobo.
702 podcasts are on 702.co.za.
Good morning, 702 listeners and bongers. I think you are definitely in the right job. Yourselves, the media, and guys like Peter Maybeck and all the investigative journalists, I think we owe you guys our lives. The good work that you are doing is excellent. It's only the authorities that must do their part. Then we'll get this country to be a better place. Thank you.
Well, all of us must do our part wherever we are. Is that not the case? The media plays a very important role in South Africa, and we are all I mean, it's one of the cornerstones of our constitutional dispensation that the media is able to have the freedom and the space to investigate, to debate, to question, to consider alternative points of view, to debate all of these issues. And for all that goes wrong in our country, I always say that is worth celebrating. And in that regard, the conversations, the questions, the debates, all of that continues on the Clement Manyatela Show. It's 9 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Sfiso Zulu. The Daily Maverick has published the latest installment of an investigation into the suspended CEO of the Independent Division, this time linking her to prominent businessman Colin Mashwana. The publication says the Gauteng businessman made at least 2 payments towards an upmarket property currently being built